it, buddy! Good job, Boo Bear!
Propeller tail.
It's a propeller tail. He doesn't usually do that.
Oh, now it's all wet.
Good job, Bubba. You got it, buddy. What a good Boo Bear. What a good Boo Bear. You're my beautiful baby, Bubba Bear. You're my beautiful baby. You gonna bring it all the way up? You gonna bring it all the way up here? Come on, all the way. All the way. What a good boy. What a good Boo Bear.
Take a piss. Time for another round. Oh, don't roll in that water. Other doggies pee over there.
All right, ready to go down to the next one? Ready to go down to the next one? Ooh, sha, sha, sha. Ooh, sha, sha, sha. Ooh, sha, sha, sha.
Careful, there is somebody fishing right down there by the next one.
This trail?
I think we're okay, yeah. Just gotta watch out for the fisher dude. How you doing, Boo? Huh? Good swim? Good swim? Yeah?
I got the ball.
Come on, we got a ball, let's
I
go.
got the ball.
That did not look like a limpy dog, but hopefully he won't jump too much and hurt himself in the process. It's the after effects that bother me. You're never sore during the football game, just afterwards.
There's a wire over there. See the wire netting right there? Right at the base of the tree right there. The wire netting, you can't see it?
I can't, no. Is it out in the water? Oh yeah, maybe they're trying to protect something from going in that hole. Like animals or something. Girl, where you going?
Aren't those the prettiest babies ever? Huh? Aren't they? You want to see a good picture? Want to see a good picture? Huh? Let's see. Check this out. Check out these beautiful babies. Can you see them? Can you see them? Nope. Hold on. Hold on. Where's it at? Oh man, I don't see it. Son of a bitch shit. It's not coming up. There it is. What the fuck? Alright, there's my beautiful babies right there. See them? There's my beautiful babies. There's my beautiful babies. Aren't they so beautiful? What beautiful babies they are. I love my beautiful babies. Alright, that being said, I have many videos for you tonight. So if you are interested in calling, the number's right there on the screen. 805-669-6397, 805 Mox News. Now, in answer to the question myself about whether or not Iran getting the bomb is something to be afraid of, in my opinion, I'm much more afraid of Israel having the bomb than Iran having the bomb. And because I would really like to see Iran get the bomb. If Iran had the bomb, Israel would stop fucking with them. It'd be done. Nobody would fuck with them. The United States wouldn't fuck with them. Nope. This is why people get the bomb. This is why nobody fucks with North Korea. You know? I mean, because they got the bomb. And 100% the reason. So I have zero fear. I honestly feel like it would be a good thing for Iran to get the bomb. Then we don't have to worry about a war in Iran. Because if they have the bomb, nobody's going to war with them. Seems to be the way it works, right? And I think it would also be a deterrent from Israel attacking Gaza again. Not a whole lot of deterrent, because I really don't think that they don't really give a fuck. They're, gonna bulldoze Gaza into the ocean. You watch. That being said, I have video about Iran, video about Iran. I have video about chemicals in breast milk. I have a video about vaccine sites closing in Seattle, which is hilarious, in my opinion. Origins of COVID, and vaccine passport is being banned in states across the country, which I am very, very glad to see, because vaccine passport is going to create a whole second class of citizens. Oh, you're welcome in our establishment, but you're not. It's basically going to be whites only all over again. There's my baby. Hi, my beautiful baby. You're my beautiful baby. Ah, what a beautiful baby he is. He's such a beautiful baby. What's the matter, huh? What you looking for? All right, so, yes, they are so beautiful, aren't they? I just can't tell you how much I love my beautiful babies. I can't even begin to tell you. They mean the world to me. So, and it's so, I'm so lucky to have them. So, I can't say enough about the pure love of dogs. I've always said that they're like the most unconditional love on the planet. You know, you can put them in a crate for 8 hours a day, and then you come home and let them out of the crate, and they go, "I love you, I love you, I love you," which is just unbelievable. You know, you can leave them alone all day long, come home, you know, not even in a crate, just be gone 14 hours a day, come home, and they're like, "Oh, did I tell you you're the center of my universe?" So, if you don't have a dog and you've always wanted to get one, and you think that you're ready, because it's a lot of responsibility having a dog, huh, Boo Bear? You got to take care of your Boo Bears. You absolutely do. Otherwise, you just don't get beautiful babies. I mean, they're all beautiful, and they're all beautiful babies, but they really take a lot of work in order to get something that you can be so proud of. And I am so proud. I mean, it's easy to get a dog. It's easy to have a dog, but to be one you're really proud of, that takes some work. What? Hello, caller.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
How's it going?
Okay.
I'm just walking around the neighborhood right now. It's kind of boring, though, but it is what it is.
Walking is wonderful. I love walking.
Yeah, it's a nice weather right now. So how's the news today? Slow news?
The news is the news. It's just kind of always the same. You know, there's little interesting tidbits here and there, but it's basically always the same. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid.
Once Trump left office, everything went downhill. Like, I was reading I was reading an article, and they were saying that CNN could not get more than 900,000 views in one single day. Because the Trump bump is over. No, I bet you that, like, once Trump decides to go out and start doing rallies, so everyone's gonna start calling again like crazy, though. They want the guy back. They really want. I'm pretty sure they're missing the guy so much that they're actually gonna put him in power.
They're gonna try and get criminal charges against him, which will keep him from running for president again, because you can't run for president if you're a convicted criminal.
That's true, though. I mean, but if you actually look at the news, I feel like one of the strategies is, like, sometimes the DA or the prosecutor, they don't have a convincing argument to actually put a direct order against someone, or like convict someone, or you know, not convict someone, but to indict someone. So they have to go to the jury, and they have to show the jury, and the jury will decide whether or not they will indict that person. And also it's a way for the prosecutor to say, oh, I'm washing my hands. I know this is now on the jury to decide whether or not Trump is it's indicted or not for these charges. And that's just to be indicted, though, not to be actually, what did you say, found guilty, because then it's going to come the actual trial, which is a different, it's a whole different game. Though. But I feel like because they're going to pass the whole potato to the jury, most likely the jury will indict the guy, and then that's pretty much in the air when he goes into the trial. Though.
Well, you're way fucking ahead of everything. You're putting the cart before the horse, you know. And this whole garbage about trying to fucking press criminal charges against Donald Trump. Okay, let's just be real clear. I do not like Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a fucking loser scumbag. Okay? But, that being said, George W. Bush murdered 1 million innocent Iraqis based on lies. Dick Cheney, Obama, and Joe Biden all helped him do that. Okay? Donald Trump hid something on his taxes. The other guys murdered 1 million people based on lies. Okay?
Of course.
Taking Donald Trump to fucking try and press crimes against him is bullshit.
I agree with your sentiment. And I bet you that on the left views, Donald Trump is a bigger monster than George W. Bush.
Of course they do. They never ever talk shit about George W. Bush. George W. Bush is a fucking cold-blooded killer along with Donald Trump, who killed little tiny babies, bombed the shit out of them, blow them into 1 million pieces so that they could make a shiny penny. Fucking cunts who are already more rich than they deserve to be need to make another shiny fucking penny by ruining the name of America and murdering innocent people in your name with your tax dollars. But the problem is Donald Trump.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but they're still gonna go for him because they really hate his guts. I don't know. Something happened in 2015, 2016 though, that completely changed the minds of the millennials and the American left. The American left is something weird that I don't recognize anymore. I used to be a classical liberal before I became like a I don't want to say outright because outright it has this legit racist thing, but like the right that supports Donald Trump type of thing, because they really hate the guy so much, and a lot of the things he says on objectively, a lot of the things he said was true though, but it's just the way he said it that pissed a lot of people off, man. And I mean, it was entertaining though, and I unfortunately couldn't vote for him the very first time though, because I was still a green card holder, but I voted for him the second time. But when he won the first time though, I was laughing so fucking hard because I thought, well, maybe this is gonna.
A lot of people were laughing. A lot of people were laughing. A lot of people were laughing because he spanked the fuck out of Hillary Clinton, who said, there's no way Donald Trump can possibly beat Hillary Clinton. And then he spanked the fuck out of her, and everybody went, ha ha!
No, I actually was one of those people as well, though. When I was in Boise, I was watching the whole thing on TV. The student union, they closed like around 1 or 2 in the morning because of the election. But I was watching the whole thing, and I was like, what the hell just happened? It's like the crappiest team of baseball suddenly beat the New York Yankees. Like, how is that even happening? But yeah, I mean, yeah, and I thought for sure back then in 2016 that Hillary Clinton was going to win after the driving by the Pussy scandal and what else? The other scandal related, calling the Miss Universe a fat pig or something like that, and apparently watching backstage where the Miss Team USA's were dressing and he sucked it topless, and because of his bankruptcies and because of the foul language that he used and the Hollywood, what's it called, the Hollywood show, Access Hollywood Video. and like a lot of weird things. And I still couldn't believe that Donald Trump actually won.
Yeah, a lot of
And,
people don't.
yeah, but again, I didn't have any skin in the game because I couldn't vote back then. I was still a green card
Yeah,
holder.
a lot of people don't believe that Joe Biden won. You know, I mean, this is the problem
Yeah.
with U.S. elections is that there's no like trail of what happens. You know, I mean, it's just all a bunch of bullshit.
No, and it's something that I noticed during the Obama election, though. We don't have a national election per se. We have like 50 elections happening at the same time,
Yeah.
or even more, depending on the jurisdiction, though, because every state has its own election at the same time. For some reason, they come together on November 2nd, or whatever November day is, on Tuesday, and they have the election day. But ignoring those, some jurisdictions, like the state, control the whole election for the whole state.
Okay,
Some
man.
jurisdictions in
Okay.
the city.
Okay. Listen, I want to know if you're worried about Iran getting a nuclear weapon.
I am,
Why?
because it's going to destroy Israel. And once Israel,
Isn't that what you want? Don't you want fire to rain down on Israel so Jesus can come back and start the rapture? Isn't that the whole fucking idea?
No, the whole idea was that all the Jews move to Israel, to sacred land, so they can build the greater Israel. So all the Palestinians, they're going to be repatriated to other neighboring countries, given full rights in other countries.
Okay,
But they have to give up- they have to give up-
okay. But your sole reason about worrying about Iran getting the nuclear weapon is about Israel. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that seems very strange to someone who's so proud to be an American, you know? I mean, if you're really concerned about why is it you're so concerned about Israel instead of being concerned about the United States? Okay, Israel gets $23 million a day from the United States. I think that's money that the United States could probably use and actually needs.
Israel is the biggest ally.
No, they're not. They're not
They
our
are.
ally in any way. Like I said, Biden or who's ever president, Kamala Harris, needs to run a fucking aircraft carrier off the coast of Gaza and say the blockade ends now. And we'll find out real fast how good an ally Israel really is. Okay, because they're not. They're pretending to be, but they're not.
Okay.
No, I gotta go, Manny. It's nice to hear from you, okay?
That's okay for you, Mark.
Okay, thanks for calling. That's our buddy Manny from Eastern Washington. And, you know, a lot of this discussion is framed around, oh, poor Israel, poor Israel, poor Israel. We can't allow Iran to get the bomb because they're going to destroy Israel. Number one, fuck Israel, okay? And that's not what Iran is going to do. Iran is going to protect itself from Israel, because Israel fucks with Iran all the time. Iran doesn't fuck with Israel. Okay? Iran may be supporting the Palestinian people, but someone has to. The Palestinian people are being fucked by the whole world. It's like, oh, Palestinians, who gives a shit? Okay? The whole fucking world is screwing over the Palestinians. Except for Iran. Iran is there. Okay? So, and the United States could be there. The United States could be, instead of giving Israel $23 million a day, how about we just split it in two and we give Israel $12 million a day and we give the Palestinians $11 million a day. A day. How about that, Israel, Netanyahu, you fucking war criminal piece of shit? How about we do that? If I was president, I'd immediately cut all funds off to Israel. Immediately, no more. You've gotten every penny you're ever gonna get from us. And I'd make that real clear, and then we'd see what kind of friend Israel is. What kind of ally Israel really is. Because they're not. But $23 million a day buys a lot of friends, doesn't it? If I could get $23 million a day, maybe I'd be the U.S. government's friend. Maybe I'd be Joe Biden's friend. I don't think I could be Kamala Harris's friend. But, and I really don't think I could be Joe Biden's friend, because these people disgust me, like make me want to vomit until I die. Okay? And anyone who supports them makes me want to vomit until I die. Joe Biden is a horrible piece of shit who's almost just as responsible for 1 million innocent Iraqis dying based in a war based on lies, because he helped George W. Bush and Dick Cheney march into Iraq just like Hillary Clinton did. And all of them need to go to prison, because my bet is they war profiteered off that too. And anybody who votes for war and then makes money off of it needs to go to prison forever in order to make the world a safer place for little children. I would think everyone would recognize that. Why will no one think of the children? Right? Hillary Clinton, Biden, Obama, George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, prison now. Every member of Congress that has voted for war and then made a profit off it. Prison now for the rest of their lives in order to protect children. Not just children in foreign countries, but children here too. It's being done in your name. Your children have the same name as you. It's being done in your name. And, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, karma, all these things, okay? The terrorist. The U.S. government is spreading terror around the world for the sole purpose of creating terrorists who want to hit us back. Well, that's not the sole purpose. That's one of the benefits of making war around the world. The sole purpose is to make rich fucking cunts even more rich than they ever fucking needed to be. And we need to throw them all in prison. That's all there is to it. For the rest of their lives, seize every bit of their assets, every single penny of their assets, so that their families have to live in shame and destitute. Okay? Because that's what Dick Cheney's offspring deserves. That's what Liz Cheney's offspring deserves. To live in shame and destitute. Let's see what good people they are then. Let's see how brilliant they are if they don't have billions of dollars in their fucking bank account so they can make happen whatever they want. Let's see Liz Cheney get elected anywhere in the fucking world without $1 billion behind her. Okay? So these people are garbage, and they make the good name of America garbage. And I don't know how anybody can put up with them at all. Liz Cheney to prison forever right now. Anybody who can't see that should be a mandatory thing, the highest priority in the United States, should be sending these fucking pieces of shit to prison forever. If you ever want to get the good name of America back, okay? And it's not going to be done by Donald Trump. You need somebody who comes up and says, these fucking cunts need to go to prison forever. Maybe Mike Hawk should run for president, huh? Mike Hawk for president. How about that? Then we'll get some fucking action. Because Mike Hawk loves action. No doubt about that. Where the fuck is Wilco? I thought I saw Wilco in here. We miss you, Wilco. Wilco. We hope that you come back soon. All right. That being said, I'm going to play a video because I don't have any phone callers. And I have a video here about Iran and them giving Hamas rockets, because Iran is so scary that they give Hamas rockets. Oh my God. All right. So, poor Israel. I'm going to play this video for you now. I'll be right back.
Also today, Secretary Blinken discussed Israel's Iron Dome defense system with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the same defense system that intercepted thousands of do-it-yourself rockets launched from inside the tightly controlled Gaza border during the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Our Pentagon correspondent, Oren Lieberman, has the story.
The rockets might be made in Gaza, produced locally by Hamas and Islamic Jihad, but much of the technical know-how comes from Iran. During 11 days of fighting between Israel and Hamas, Iran cheered for Gaza from a distance, an overt moment in the ongoing shadow war between Israel and Iran. Iran's supreme leader wrote on Twitter, "I thank God for his aid and the honor bestowed on Palestinian fighters. I extend my congratulations for victory over Zionist criminals." Since the end of the 2014 war, Hamas has built up an arsenal of about 15,000 rockets, according to the Israeli military, firing barrages that, at times, overwhelmed Israel's Iron Dome aerial defense system. The Israel-Egypt blockade of Gaza has made it increasingly difficult for Iran to send assistance into the Strip. The Israeli military believes some rocket parts are still smuggled in for assembly, but far more Iran has focused on giving technical expertise, weapons development, and money.
ولا يسعني إلا أن أوجه شكر.
I thank those who have provided funds and weapons to the fearful resistance, the Islamic Republic of Iran, who are not frugal towards this resistance with money, weapons, and techniques.
Even so, a spokesman for Israel's foreign ministry told CNN they saw no specific signs of Iranian involvement during 2 weeks of fighting. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hardly mentioned Iran during the fighting, but he blamed the regime for their overall support of militant groups.
Iran not only supports completely the Islamic Jihad in Gaza and gives them all the financing, they also give weapons to Hamas as well as to Hezbollah, and they provide the scaffolding on which these organizations really work.
The normalization of relations between Israel and Arab countries in recent years has pushed Iran to the sidelines of the Middle East. But this recent fighting was a chance for Iran to reassert itself in the region. After the fighting, Palestinians celebrated what they saw as a victory over Israel, a far inferior Hamas standing up to a stronger, technologically superior Israel. Iran celebrated in its own way. One day after an unconditional ceasefire, they unveiled their latest drone, an apparent imitation of a U.S. Predator or Reaper drone, which they named Gaza.
The Biden administration was also very quiet on Iran during approximately 2 weeks of fighting, but likely for a very different reason. Another round of talks in Vienna on Iran's nuclear program and a possible return to the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear agreement, and that, the Biden administration has signaled, is its priority. Wolf?
All right, Oren, thank you very much. Our Pentagon correspondent, Oren Lieberman, reporting. Coming up.
All right, isn't he a beautiful baby down by the river? Doesn't it comfortable? Okay, so, you know, I have this problem with Israel because everywhere, you know, Israel, it seems to be all that matters, right? Israel, Israel, Israel. Israel murders little babies with money that's being sent by the United States. And, oh, Israel has to defend itself. Maybe Israel doesn't have to defend itself if it includes killing innocent people over and 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 over. Also, I have a very good video about Israel stealing land in the West Bank. And on that video, it also shows the first view I've seen of inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque when Israeli police threw flashbang grenades and tear gas into the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the third most holy site in Islam, and during Ramadan. I guess it was the most important day during Ramadan. So, you know, which is what the whole Gaza war started of. The most recent one is them stealing land, Israelis stealing land from Palestinians, and then the tear gas and the flashbang grenades in the third most holy site, which is a load of shit. I'm feeling much better now. So, in 2007, there was a war, Israel against Lebanon, right? There was a war in 2007, and it was Israel again just bombing the shit out of people for no reason except for they can, and they probably have a new shipment of weapons coming in real soon, so they got to get rid of the old weapons. That's the way it works, people, in case you don't know. You order weapons, you have too many weapons sitting around, you got to use them so you can get the new ones in. Right, so in 2007 there's a war with Lebanon. Very disgusting war. Israel, very disgusting country. And in 2007, I bought this patch. This is a Lebanese flag. It's called the cedar. It has a tree on it right there. And I was always, well, first let me say, I don't know if you can see it, but if you look real hard, it says "Fuck Israel." That being said, I always thought that I'd be wearing this through a TSA checkpoint, and the TSA would be like looking at me and they say, "What's this about? Are you a terrorist?" And I'd look at them and laugh and I'd say, "It looks like marijuana," you know, because, you know, TSA people are fucking stupid, and the whole agency is completely fucking worthless, like the Pentagon. And again, if you can't read it, right here it says, "Fuck Israel!" And I wear that everywhere I go. Because that's how I feel. And I've made that clear, I believe. So that's where I'm coming from. And again, I would feel much more comfortable with Iran having the bomb than Israel. Like, I have no problem with Iran having the bomb. That being said, I don't want to say terrified, because I'm not really, I don't think about it all the time. And if you're terrified, kind of like, all the time, I'm not that way. But it is a scary thing. Not that I'm scared, but it is a scary thing that people who murder innocent babies, who starve innocent babies when they could make sure that they're getting the nourishment and food that they need, they starve them. Okay? That's who the Israelis are. That's who the Israeli government is. So I'm much more comfortable with Iran having a nuclear weapon than I ever will be with Israel. And the thing about Israel having nuclear weapons is, it's a big secret. No one knows we have nuclear weapons, right? So it's kind of like, oh, well, we can't allow nuclear weapons in the region except for Israel. You know, it's really messed up that it's all Iran is bad, Iran is bad, Iran is bad. It's like saying the Palestinians are horrible, awful people, you know, which they're not. They're people, humanity. They deserve to be treated with respect that you want to be treated with, that Israelis want to be treated with. What, are Israelis special and it doesn't, and the Palestinians don't matter? Is that what's going on? I mean, I know that's how it is for Manny. The thing is, you know, Israelis, you know, they get to steal Palestinian land. They get to just they get to kick Palestinians out of homes that they've lived in for generations. They just kick them out. Get the fuck out. This is our land now. 100%. Not here's a $500,000 for your home with a view. It's like, get the fuck out. You don't live here anymore. But we've lived here for generations. Yeah, but Israelis are the only one who fucking matters. Don't you know that? Don't you? I mean, you can hear it in Manny's voice. Israelis are the only one that matters. He's a proud American too. Israelis are the only one they're the chosen people. Don't you know that? The only way we get Jesus to come back is if we make a greater Israel. And then Jesus will come home to earth and bring the rapture. I can't wait to be raptured. What's up, G?
Hey,
taking a break from my habanero tacos, man. Fuck! Picked up a whole bag of them, 30 habaneros for $1. I figured I'll fucking use them.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No doubt.
30 for $1, that's a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Hey, did you see my Lebanese backpack patch?
Yeah, I did. Very
Nice, huh?
Yeah. I wish I had a little Lebanese cedar flag, too. All of those flags of all those Arabic countries were designed by Britain. Well, let's put it this way. Britain designed the original Arabic resistance flag in about 1915, 1916, when they were organizing all the tribes across the desert, which turned into Iraq and Lebanon and Syria and Palestine and all these countries. They drew the map, right? England and France drew the map, but there was just a bunch of tribes there, and they organized them and they made friends with them because they were fighting the Ottomans. And so they organized Arabic resistance flag, and then the Palestinian flag is very similar to the original Arabic resistance flag, and so is the Lebanese flag, and so are many other flags. They always use the same colors: green, red, white, and black, and they have little differences. But if you notice all those Arabic flags, including Lebanon, they're all kind of similar because they all got organized by the Brits in about 1915, and I would think eventually they would. It's up to them, but they might want to like redesign their shit because they're just. It's like, man, the fucking British. You're just copying the British flag.
Well, it's not just. I mean, there's a lot of pride around a people's flag, regardless of who designed it. Kind of
right,
like
yeah,
it's like held in your heart. Like this represents us.
Yeah, I dig it. People rally around flags, slogans, armies, gold, television personalities. They rally around, causes. They rally around all kinds of shit. And I got nothing. I'm not going to tell them how to, change your flag, or I don't like.
Right, but they don't identify for gold. They don't. I mean, they see they see the flag and they think of this is my people. That's not what you think about when you're looking at gold.
Right. Everybody chases after gold, but flags are actually a little bit more powerful when it comes to organizing people into groups. It's like, I mean, look at those, what are they, the Proud Boys or something down south there, just taking the old Southern flag and they're trying to put it, we're Southerners, people rally around flags.
No, they like flying the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, as far as I can tell.
What's that, like the
yellow flag with the snake?
Yeah, the one with the snake.
Yeah.
They're not doing the old Southern Cross.
It's very rare that you see that.
Well, anyways, Iran, as a country, it's against their religion to engage in mass destruction. And, they are a theocratic country ruled by a religious supremacy, religious body, and they're not going to. I think they want to join the rest of the countries and maybe get nuclear power. And the hype and the propaganda coming out of Netanyahu and America is that don't let them get uranium, or don't let them get aluminum tubes, because they'll make
aluminum
bombs
tubes,
and then we'll all be in trouble. That's the propaganda, but it's not. I mean, there is this thing that's been around for 50 years called mutually assured destruction, and everybody knows about Dimona, which is somewhere between 200 and 400 nuclear warheads that Israel has, but it's not a member of the Nuclear Arms Treaty. It's a secret that nobody can really talk about. And if Iran was to say, let's get a bomb and let's bomb Israel, first of all, they'd be killing Arabs. So they'd be killing Palestinians. They're not going to do that. Second of all,
They'd be poisoning the entire region. They're not going to do that. Unless, unless it's a matter of mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, it'd be a suicide. It's just propaganda that Netanyahu uses. Now, you will notice there is some animosity between Saudi Arabia and Iran, but that's not. That is an economic animosity because you got two superpowers in the region besides Israel. You got
two
Saudi
oil superpowers.
Right, Saudi Arabia and Iran. And so they're in economic competition with each other, even though there's no sanctions on Saudi Arabia and there's massive sanctions on Iran and Syria.
Which Saudi Arabia commits crimes against humanity on a daily basis, basically.
Absolutely. They've wiped out Yemen.
And there's no sanctions about them, against them.
We chop up journalists and then we do an investigation. And we've cleared ourselves in our unquestionable investigation. Our Saudi Prince bin Salman had nothing to do with it, right? But Iran is seemingly way more peaceful than Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is our ally. Bahrain is pretty violent, and it's a Sunni government, and it houses the 6th or the 7th Fleet. I think it's the 6th Fleet, so they can get away with anything they want to.
And they shoot protesters in the street.
Bahrain
shoots protesters in the street.
Yeah, the Sunni government shooting Shia protesters. So the way that Israel and Britain and France got away with imposing Israel on the Middle East was they took advantage of the division, the tribal division that was already there in 1900, 1903, 1897, way back in the past, and there was a division in Islam between the Shias and the Sunnis. Now, I don't really give a fuck. My sense is the Shias are more peaceful and the Sunnis are more radical, but if there wasn't that division there, Israel wouldn't exist at all. So the Jews, they perpetuate that division. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and they undermine these guys, they undermine those guys, and Mossad's got agents in every intelligence service in the Middle East, and they say Mossad and Israel seems to be way smarter than everybody else around them, and Iran is not really a problem. I can't really speak to why Obama gave pallet loads of money, I don't know, $1 billion or more to Iran. I don't know, I'm not really well versed on why he did that or what it was for. I heard it was their own damn money and they wanted it back in cash. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But the propaganda goes on in the halls of Washington. The propaganda is spurred on by the stick in the ass by Netanyahu and the Israeli propaganda. So Israel and America are joined at the hip. Whatever Israel wants, America gives it. And whoever Israel wants to paint out as the enemy, America will paint as the enemy. But, you'll hear the rhetoric coming out of Iran like, oh, the demon Zionists and stuff. You'll notice they don't talk about Jews. They talk about Zionists. Iran never talks about Jews because they got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Jews in Iran that are able to worship freely, able to practice their religion. They're not second-class citizens like the Palestinians are. And Iran doesn't hate Jews. It hates the Zionist state. And I can't predict what's going to happen in the Middle East, but I know, if I was to talk to the Ayatollah or somebody like that, I would say, hey, nuclear power might be nice, but look at France. Just don't do it, man. Develop solar power. Develop other kinds of power. Don't do the nuclear shit. Eventually, it's going to bite you in the ass. But I'm just a nobody. I don't have access to those people. Maybe they want nuclear power. And I bet you they want it for good purposes, not for nuclear bombs. And I think they would like to interact with the rest of the world in a civilized way, the same way Russia does. China kind of does a little bit, even though China's really sneaky. And you wouldn't have China and Russia aligned with Iran and Syria if they were really criminal enterprises, criminal countries. And so Iran was back in Syria while this U.S. coup, this attempted coup with ISIS and was going on. And I'm not quite sure where we're at in Syria. I don't think all our soldiers are out of Syria. They're definitely not out of Afghanistan. The empire marches on, and we, meaning the American press, is going to demonize Iran and Syria and the Palestinians and other people, anybody that pops up. And we're like, there's supposed to be like this honor amongst thieves, right? Well, he's a thief, I'm a thief, I'm not going to fuck him around. But actually, America and Israel will fuck anybody around if it suits their interests. So, it could be United Arab Emirates next that they're demonizing for some because they found gold in the offshore or something. Who knows? But Iran is not the bad guy. This guy Manny seems to believe everything that's spewed out on CNN and Fox and MSNBC, and it's just not true.
He believes, that Iran is what's going to. I mean, not Iran. Israel's what's going to bring Jesus back.
Fuck Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus ain't coming back, man. I think that's just wishful thinking. I would love it if some great and all-powerful God would just land on Earth and say, okay, you guys do this, you guys do that, or I'm going to disable your fucking shit, man, but that ain't going to happen. There's no such thing as my invisible, well, there is such a thing as your invisible friend in the sky, but mostly he acts in very hidden and subtle ways, and he acts through people. He acts through people. That means we. You don't think that? They're laughing my invisible friend. My invisible friend. He's a powerful guy, Mike. Got lightning bolts. No, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. God, if there is a God, he acts through people. And we're given certain skills, we're given certain attributes like intellect and bravery and physical power and honesty. And that's what's going to save the earth, not my invisible friend Thor or Zeus or Jesus.
Okay. Well, at least we know it's going to save the earth now. God acting through me.
And it's not America. My invisible friend, God gave us the land, man.
I just have one question. I'm just calling him he because that's what you refer to him as. What the fuck is he waiting for?
Well, dude.
Yes.
He's waiting for us. Waiting for us to grow the fuck up.
I think if there is a God, he probably knows a lot better than to wait for us. I am never gonna get fucking dinner, man. These people, shit. I'm done waiting.
Well, I'm done waiting too, man. That's why I do what I do.
No, God, not waiting for, he is not waiting for anything. That's not what God does. God's plenty busy. I'm not waiting for anything to happen. Whatever the fuck happens, happens. I've already given those people all they need to make anything they want happen. Anything they can imagine. So yeah, I'm not concerned about it. I'll let them do their thing.
Yeah, we're like retarded teenagers that have reached the age of 18. We got kicked out of the house by our
We're much worse than retarded teenagers. Okay.
And And now it's up to us to fucking pay the rent on planet Earth and clean the fucking house.
It's not up to us. It's up to 2 generations from now who won't have any drinking water, won't be able to breathe the air outside, and, you know, probably has to wallow in shit everywhere they go.
Well, we got to start, man, because I don't want it to get that bad for people. And I know lots of people think, you know, it's the end of the world and the babies are all going to be deformed in 15 years and everybody's going to be retarded and you'll have a microchip in your hand and there'll be no money and you'll have to get your oatmeal by sliding your hand underneath the thing at the oatmeal store.
I don't think that's what I'm really concerned about. I'm concerned that there's not going to be any water to drink, you know?
Well, yeah, I'm concerned about the water too. Water is 60-70% of the planet, man.
It's like 90% of humans.
Well, not quite, but yeah, we're in a heap of shit, boy. And we better find our way out of it. And it ain't our man.
Look, I only started this conversation because you said God is waiting for us. You know, I mean, that's just hilarious, dude. I can't even say the words without starting to laugh.
I don't actually care what your opinion is, Mike, but I'd like to ask you a question. If there is a God, is he a conscious God or an unconscious God?
I don't really understand the question. What do you mean unconscious?
Well, like a conscious God would be consciously interacting with his creation, right? The universe, making the planets move, the atmosphere, gravity, the
No. I don't think that is true at all. I think that God is clearly conscious, if there is a God, that gave us all we need, everything we need. So, you know, and the reason being so that God, didn't have to interact. You know, God is not here to interact. God is here to go, okay, here's everything you need. Let's see what happens.
So you don't believe in miracles? You don't believe any miracles have ever occurred?
If you believe that they came from God, no, I don't believe in that.
Yeah, well, I have a slightly different opinion of the universe. You know, I think, yeah, there's a great possibility God just created the universe, if there is a God. I don't know. And then just set things in motion, and now he's standing back looking at it. But I think he, if he does, or if she does exist, is a little bit more interactive than that, mostly in human beings. Go after my invisible friend, man! You think that God doesn't have better things than to play with these ants? Is that right? I am quite aware that no matter what happens to me, the universe seems to be apathetic. I hope that answers your question. Well, it sounds like to me you seem to believe God's got nothing better to do than see how you're checking on you. Well, I got no answers, and you know, the first rule about God Club is you don't talk about God Club. So, you know, I'm just, I never really bring up the God subject, but you're the one who brought it up. Yeah, well, he's waiting for us. You know, God damn it, man. But you know, I think my personal beliefs are pretty complex and hard to put out there. But maybe, like some psychopath told me a long time ago, right before you ripped me off, was that there is no God. We're just animals. We're born and then we die. And I said to him, well, what about karma? You at least got to believe in karma. He says, there is no karma unless you get caught. And then he proceeded to rip me off thousands of dollars, ripped my sister off for $50,000 or $100,000. So maybe the psychopath is right and I'm wrong, and I'm just talking bullshit about my invisible friend that I hope he's out there. It's like, I'm on my walkie-talkie. God, can you hear me?
Well,
God, come in. Come in, God.
Karma actually makes sense, okay? Like I said, if there is a God, I'm sure that God has much more important things to do than interacting with the ants like us. Now, that being said, karma is something like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So this is what, that being a basic force in the universe, it kind of makes sense. That karma almost kind of makes sense when looking at it that way, right? Unlike a flying spaghetti monster in the sky.
Yeah, you really, talking about karma is quite unknowable because it engages with multiple lifetimes. You really have to believe in reincarnation if you're going to believe in karma.
Not really.
Yeah,
like I said, it's an equal and opposite.
What about all those dead Palestinians? What was it? Just their karma? Did they do something bad?
No, it's that the Israeli government is evil.
But karma is just a Sanskrit word that means action. It doesn't mean good
which is
action
what I
or
just
bad
said.
action.
Equal and opposite reaction.
What was the crime? What was the karma that the Palestinians reaped so that they could get butchered and blown up like that? What was their crime?
Karma doesn't control everything.
Karma controls human destiny and human lives and human progress, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, I don't think, again, I just don't think that there's anything that controls destiny. Okay, what I'm saying is that if you do bad things, then there's a good chance, if you're a bad person, then I would bet that bad follows you around everywhere you go. So, and just waiting to get up on you.
That's not true, though. That's not true.
I don't know. I mean,
that got away with it.
Yeah, I know. Jeffrey Epstein comes to mind.
Lots of them.
Bill Gates, who all went to Lolita Island. Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Trump. Who else went? Lots and lots of people went. So, and a couple of them have been president of the United States. And the other one was richest man in the world for some time. So, there's some evil shit going on. But if you look at it again, Bill Clinton, he's not having a good life right now. Bill Gates, his life kind of went to shit in the last few weeks, and Donald Trump, I don't think he's ever really had a good life. He's had everything, and he just looks for more and more and more to somehow satisfy him. Although that's how rich people seem to be to me always. Hey, I got to take a break, man. It's really good. Thanks so much for making me laugh like that.
My pleasure, Mike. Take care.
Okay, talk to you soon. Christina, you should call, honey. Okay, so where are we at? Oh, right. I want to do this one about vaccines. Vaccine sites in the Seattle area are being shut down. And I find it very interesting when they say so many people have gotten at least one shot. Well, then you need to keep the vaccine sites open so they can go back to all these places and get their second shot where they thought they would and could. And if they go back and they see it's not there, what's the likeliness of them rushing to some other place to make sure they get their vaccine? Because in my opinion, you just cut that likeliness by 50%, which is already a problem that they're having getting people back to get their second shot. So, and I haven't got one yet, and nor will I. So we're all on the same page. All right, here's a clip about Seattle shutting down their vaccine sites, because I think this is a worthy watch. Be right back.
And breaking developments on vaccination efforts locally, Seattle will shut down its mass vaccination sites next month. The news is coming as a vast majority of Seattle residents have begun the vaccine process. Mayor Jenny Durkan made the announcement within the last hour, and our Ranji Sinha was there. Ranji, city officials feel confident they can get to the rest of the unvaccinated without these sites.
Michelle, they're going to take these efforts mobile. These mobile vaccination teams have been going out to group homes, to sports events, even breweries to try to get people the shot. Now, we're live here at the Rainier Beach site. I was actually out here this past Friday when dozens of people were waiting in this area after getting the shot. Seattle city officials say more than 76% of Seattleites have begun the vaccination process, so the city will end operations at sites like these. Now, sites like Rainier Beach have contributed to some vaccination benchmarks. More than 60% of Seattle residents are fully fully vaccinated, according to city officials. Numbers like that are why the city plans to shut down Rainier Beach and other fixed sites. Now, the site will continue to administer first and second doses until the shutdown. January 14th was when the Seattle Fire Department started giving out shots now at the vaccination hubs here at Rainier Beach and at West Seattle. Rainier Beach is going to stop that on June 23rd. West Seattle will end on June 9th. But these hubs have administered nearly 107,000 vaccinations combined, including more than 60,000 first doses.
We successfully advocated to the Biden administration for additional resources for our community health clinics, for our mobile teams, for community hubs, and for Lumen. I had hoped that we would see the pendulum swing about June, optimistically, where we would have more vaccine than people who wanted it, and we were able to beat that by weeks because we accelerated and had such great partnerships, but mostly because of people in this city.
We've seen a lot of activity at the Lumen Field Event Center, which opened as a vaccination site March 13th. It was the largest civilian-run vaccination site in America. It will stop doing shots on June 12th. Lumen Field Vaccination Site has administered more than 97,000 vaccinations, including nearly 51,000 first doses. Now, Seattle Fire is going to be doing vaccinations this summer, just not here at the Rainier Beach site after it closes. Now, those mobile vaccination teams I mentioned are going to head up the vaccination effort over the summer. They're going to go out to different locations. They're going to focus on young people right now because apparently that group is underrepresented, according to the city officials that we spoke to here today. And they are going to put out their information, Seattle Fire will, on social media. So follow Seattle Fire on Twitter. You'll see where they're going for those mobile vaccination sites. And if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, you might be able to intersect with them at some point during the summer. And of course, there is a fixed site in Soto that will continue to do testing as well as vaccinations for the foreseeable future. We're live in Rainier Beach. Ranji Sinha, Cairo 7 News.
All right, thank you, Ranji.
Sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes the weight of the world can be too much to bear. Sometimes you need to stop worrying and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need cannabis. Introducing Brightside, high-quality cannabis delivered right to your door. Brightside offers an extensive menu of strains and products to meet your needs. Choose the experience you want, and we'll send you the dankest herb, the real sticky icky. Some top-shelf marijuana. If you like what we send you, keep the whole jar. We'll even include some nugs for you to blaze. As part of Discovery, you'll get to try new strains and products. Side effects may include euphoria, increased appetite, uncontrollable giggles, elevated sensitivity to musical dopeness, and reduced anxiety. Tetrahydrocannabinol may also induce feelings of existential well-being and relentless optimism. With a Brightside subscription, you can get it once a month, once a week, or whenever you want, all at a price you'll like. And yes, this is a real company.
Do you know who I am?
You're the wizard.
Ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. It probably is. Keep it Brightside.
All right, there's my beautiful baby. Hi, my beautiful baby. All comfy down by the river. Where'd your face go? There's your face. So I am trying to get over that last conversation still. Let's see. Hello, caller.
Hi, Moxie.
Hey, baby. How you doing?
I am doing fabulous.
That's good to
Beautiful day today. Yeah.
hear. It was a nice day for a walk.
I did. I walked 6.5 miles today.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Beautiful. I got to see a bear today.
Nuh-uh. Outdoors?
It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it caught me by surprise. Absolutely. It was amazing. Best day ever.
I'm very jealous. I've only ever seen...
It might not be as good as the day I saw the orca, but it's pretty darn close.
I've never seen a bear in the wild, and I would really love to do that. You know, when I was 9 years old, we went to this place, and they had a black bear in a cage, in a very small cage, and I was 9, and they were like doing there was like a little thing like, look at the black bear, you know, and they said something about who wants to get a kiss from the bear, right? And I was like, I want a kiss from the bear. And he went up to the side of the cage and you put a fig Newton in your mouth, and then the bear ate fig Newton out of your mouth, right? Like you put it on your, halfway in your mouth, and the bear comes over and munches it. I have zero fear of nature since then at all. It's like, it's like people are so afraid of bears and cougars and stuff. I just don't understand it. I think maybe
I figure if I'm up there and I get taken by a bear, that is an awesome way to go.
Yeah, or a cool story. Either way.
Yeah, it's a cool story or an awesome way to go. So I don't know. It's a good way to go if you're taken out by a tree or a cougar or a bear or a landslide. Pretty cool way to go, I think.
Yeah, it's better than dying in front of the TV.
Oh my gosh, with a Big Mac in your mouth.
That is not the way I want to go.
No, I'd rather go out doing
being attacked by a bear or a shark.
Yeah, absolutely. Living life, right?
Yeah.
And living it as loud as you're able to.
Enjoying every moment you can. That's what really matters. Did you see the picture of Rufus and Sammy?
No.
Oh,
is a new one?
No. But the place where we get the dog food, they posted two pictures of them on the website and wrote a whole story about Rufus and Sammy with Craig's help. So,
I'm gonna definitely have to see that.
Can you see your screen right now? No, it's okay.
No.
Craig will send you a link.
No,
Craig will send you a link.
When I'm talking, I'm just talking.
Yeah. They're adorable pictures. I'm really happy to see them. So cute.
People need more dog stories. Everybody needs more dog stories. Dog stories are the best things in the world.
Well, dogs are the best thing in the world, and stories are a close second.
Stories are a close second.
Yeah.
Yeah, dogs are the best thing in the world. How's Rufus today?
Rufus is working on it. We're working on it. He's doing good. I haven't. Yeah, he hasn't. I used to get up every morning and he would come over. I'd sit at the top of the stairs and he'd come over and he'd put his head right in the center of my chest. Every single morning, and he hasn't done that for months. And then on Saturday he did it, and I was like, "That's my Boo Bear."
Oh. That feels so good when you're like, oh, there you are. There's that connection, right? Where there's a piece that when you see an animal going through anything, when you see any creature going through anything, when that piece is bridged again and you feel that heart connection, you feel that brain on brain and that soul on soul connection, there's just nothing better than that. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, I was really happy when that happened. It made my day. It's a great way to start the day. Your dog coming over and putting his head right on your chest. He puts like the top of his head. He puts his head down. He puts the top of his head right in the center of my chest.
Oh, that is so sweet.
It's a very nice way to start the day.
It is. It's the ultimate of I'm here with you and let's do this.
Yeah. You're my best friend. So what's going on? When did you start walking 6.5 miles?
In December, but I couldn't do 6.5 then. I just been slowly getting up, but my goal is to be able to do about 8 a day, and I'm increasing my elevation now because I have a goal of getting to the top of a mountain. I have, it's calling me. Good. Because we need to be outdoors more. All of us need to be outside. We need to be taking our meals outside. We need to be walking more. We need to be appreciating what is around us every moment we possibly can. Taking in sunrises and sunsets It is the prescription that all of us need for a healthier world. And if we do, we will find that we were talking about God before. We will find that that we are God, that we are the universe, and we find that by being outside. So it's been my drug of choice, walking.
Yeah, I love walking.
Yeah.
I've always loved walking. And the thing about being here is that we live in a rainforest, you know, or on the edge of a rainforest. So when you walk, it's like you're interacting with nature. You know, I think, you know, walking in LA, nobody walks in LA, you know. So I think it wouldn't be the same experience as walking here at all, you know.
We are blessed.
Yeah.
We are blessed to have, trees. Like, you go to a forest, you know what kind of messages you get to hear and listen and be around?
Yeah.
I've been visiting the world's oldest trees in the state recently.
Right on.
And it's powerful.
Yeah.
Super duper powerful to stand next to a 2,000-year-old tree.
Yeah, I love trees. The sound that I hate the most in my neighborhood is a chainsaw. It always kind of breaks my heart.
It's saying goodbye to wisdom is what it is.
It's selfishness and greed. People act like nature is something to conquer. It's instead of something to have empathy for and interact with, you know.
They just don't see how it benefits them. I mean, people are scavengers, right? Like, we take from other people who take it from the earth, and if you don't have that connection to whether you're, you know, growing your own food or knowing the farmer that you get your meat from, or what apples, and if you don't have any kind of connection to it whatsoever, it just seems like it's always going to be there, and there's ways to use it and abuse it. And it's sad. It's super duper sad because people are missing out on the thrill of being connected to more than just food they eat, right? But the water they drink and the ground that they walk upon, and bees. Oh my gosh, I didn't tell you the story. I have a giant bee swarm in my yard right now.
Nice.
I have a huge bee swarm in my yard, and I called them about a week ago. I was outside, and there was, 20,000 bees flying all around a 5-yard space.
Yeah.
And I started singing and calling them down. This is absolutely true. Calling them, and they started getting closer and closer and closer. And the queen landed about 15 feet above my head, and within 15 minutes, all the bees had collected into this hive, the size of 2 feet by 3 feet wide.
Wow.
And they sat right up above me, and they've been there for over a week and a half now.
Wow,
I brought out the beekeepers and hoping that they'll go in this hive that I brought out, but they like my tree.
Yeah, the tree is a nice thing. That's good. I mean,
the
it seems
tree
like
is a nice thing.
It seems like it makes it makes a good home for lots and lots of creatures.
Yeah. They're happy there. We have the hive here. I've told them they're there, but they're really happy in this tree. And the sounds, I have to tell you, what it sounds like when you listen to, 30,000 bees all around you, it's the neatest thing you've ever heard in your entire life. It vibrates so much that the hairs on your arms and your legs, everything stands up on end. It vibrates this strange frequency that I've never felt in my life. You could feel it all over your whole body as the bees surround you, calling out to the queen bee.
I haven't experienced that. But you can see, it's easy to understand. Anybody who's heard a bee, just one is very loud. So, 30,000 of them or whatever is going to be like, I would think you'd be able to hear that for some distance.
It is felt and heard, yeah. Yeah, and they were crawling all over me. It was really amazing.
That is amazing. So, where's your next adventure to 1,000-year-old trees at?
Well, today I happened to walk upon 1,000-year-old tree graveyard, which broke my heart. big, beautiful Western red cedars that were, 8 feet in diameter that had been cut in the early 1900s.
We got one across the street that's bigger than that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Do you go and sit? Do you just sit under it and just?
I just go places with the dogs mostly, and that would be an uncomfortable place to sit. And there's too much traffic to have the dogs over there too much.
Oh.
But it's a beautiful tree, and every once in a while, I'll see like a paint on it, and I'll be like, they had better not be fucking with this tree, because I'm gonna chain myself to it, because it would be horrible if they took. But I think that there's probably some pretty big laws that won't allow them to take that tree right now. You know what? Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I would say yes. That there is laws that do not that there's a lot of different things before you have to cut a tree down.
You know what I think the law should be really is that the lumberjack who cuts it down should have to be older than the tree, otherwise it's unacceptable. Which would keep a
brilliant idea.
It would keep a lot of 90-year-old lumberjacks in business for sure.
And it would keep them strong and virile.
And
that's the type of lumberjack that I want to be around.
Well, it keeps the trees too. I mean, because there's so many of them that are just that. Again, people think that they're supposed to dominate nature, and that's a really bad plan.
It's a really bad plan.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We need it. We need it for our mental health. We need it for our physical health. We need it for our spiritual health. We need it on every single level. We need it for our health.
We're not going to make it without nature.
We're not going to make it without it. No,
Yeah.
we really won't. And everyone can start today. Everyone can just go outside. Like I tell people, just eat a meal outside. Eat a meal outside 3 days a week. Go outside and eat. Just do anything where you're outside. Just switch something up. If you can't take a walk, do something where you're sitting outside, no matter where you're at. The Pacific Northwest is amazing, right? Like, it's a blessing to live here. But unfortunately, the forest fires are coming soon to everybody on the West Coast. And we're going to be looking and experiencing the world through a different lens when everything's covered in smoke so soon. So go outside now. Go outside now and then fight harder for next year for better managed forests and everything that we need to be able to create a different world, because it's going to be a rough summer. So I'm outside loving the trees now.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much that you're doing it now, is that every chance you get, you're going to do it, and you're worried that you might not get that much chance over the summer.
Yeah, I definitely feel that my body doesn't like being up at 2,000 feet elevation with the amount of smoke that's up there. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the trees don't like it either. They don't like it.
No,
the animals don't like it. It's just, and they're not breathing burned trees. They're also breathing, from places in California, they're burning electronics and people's cars and other animals. We're breathing all of that in, and so I'm doing what I can now to love and appreciate.
Yeah, well, that's good. I and it sounds like that's what you try to do all the time. So,
Yeah, and my next trip will be out at Quinault to go look at some old trees out there.
Is that on the peninsula?
It is. It is.
I haven't been there before, but I've always wanted to go and explore those mountains. The Olympics, is that the Olympics? It is, right?
Yeah, the Olympics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always wanted to explore those mountains. I don't know why, but
Ancient groves will welcome you.
There's something up there that's been calling me since I moved to the Northwest. And I've never gotten there yet, but one of these days.
Do you know where you want to go? Do you want to go to the top of a mountain, or do you want to go to the ocean?
I just want to drive along a mountain trail until I find something that looks really good. And, mountain road. Until I find something that looks good. And then park there and hang out and see if it's what I'm looking for or what's been calling me, and if not, go find another spot that looks good. Because
I love that.
Yeah, like I said, it's something over there is calling me, and if I try to figure out the places that I want to go, I might not be open to whatever it is that's trying to call me, because I already have a planned out route,
I love that. That's the flexibility of your intuition and your spirit.
My life.
I love it.
So I'm going to have a plant for you next week. I'm putting them out this weekend. I want to get them acclimated to outside. And I should have a plant ready for you next week.
I have a place already.
Okay, I only have one started, but I'm going to start another one. I'm going to start a few more plants this week, and hopefully I'll just move them outside right away. So they'll probably be ready in another 2 or 3 weeks. But it should be perfect for finishing up the summer.
This is very exciting. Thank you for farming and loving these little babies, and you're creating good work.
I just love. That's what I want to do, and whoever I can share that with, that's what I want to do.
Thank you.
It's nice to hear from you.
Yeah, it's nice to hear from you too. Thank you for listening to my stories about bees and bears and the outside world and trees, and
we should come over and have it.
I always love connecting with you. I listened to the last caller talk about God, and it was like, I am God. I actually had a story about that too, about growing up in my type of church, which we were told we had to raise money when we were young to send all the Russian Jews to Israel, so then that way Jesus would come back. That's the life that I grew up in. Oh my goodness, that's so glad I'm out of that.
Don't get me laughing off my ass again.
No.
Are you? Well, you should come over and have a fat dab and hang out for a little bit. That would be really cool.
I will do that. We'll go for a walk. How about that?
Yeah, I would like that very much. We go for a walk every day around noon and go about 2 hours. And there's some really nice trails that we go to too. So big trees and stuff.
I'm in.
Okay, just let me know when.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, I love hearing from you. Stay cool.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That's our buddy Christina. And I'm starting a nice, beautiful flower for her. Isn't that good? So, to you all, if you want to call, the number's right there on the screen. It's 805-669-6397. 805 Mox News. And I have a video. We were just talking about, let's see, Iran nuclear talks. No, that wasn't it. Breast milk. No, that wasn't it. Let's see, origins. No. Vaccine passports. I just played a video for you about, this is a Kennedy video, by the way. I just played a video for you about vaccine injection sites shutting down across the Seattle area, right? Which I find very, very telling. So I have a video here about vaccine passports and the fact that numerous states are banning the bringing about of vaccine passports, the requirement of a vaccine passport, which I'm very glad to see, because what I see is if they do this vaccine passport thing, it's just going to create a second-class citizen. Oh, you're welcome here. Oh, you're not. This is a whites-only bar, which is going to be really fucked up. So, and it's going to cause so much trouble. So hopefully we're not headed that direction. But I'm going to play a video for you from Kennedy about vaccine passports being banned in numerous states, and I will be back momentarily.
Welcome back. Should vaccine passports be mandatory? In my opinion, no. Today, the governor of Georgia, he agreed with me. He banned them. That means state schools, agencies, service providers, and properties cannot require anyone to prove they got the shot. Earlier today on Fox, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp told Lawrence Jones. The vaccine should be a personal decision, not a government one. Watch.
This vaccine, like you said, it is a medical miracle. Operation Warp Speed, what President Trump has done is unreal. I think you getting the vaccine is very honorable for you to tell folks that. I've done it. My family has. I encourage people to do it, but they got to get comfortable with that, and they don't need the government telling them what to do.
This makes the Peach State the 12th to ban state vaccine passports, but other states like New York have made their own passport, and the EU is working on a vaccine passport for the whole bloc. So who's going to win, free states or nanny states? Freedom's got to win. Joining me now, Fox and Friends enterprise reporter and this week's guest host of Fox News Primetime. He is Primetime, Lawrence Jones.
Yes,
welcome back into the studio.
The Freedom Hut.
It is a Freedom Hut.
That's right.
Thank you very much for naming it that.
That's right.
Yes, that is nice. You are cooler than the other side of the pillow. You're also a man in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah.
So how do you feel personally about the passports?
Well, I'm offended that the government is taking this approach because it's something that I think is very personal. This should be between people and their doctors.
Yes.
You know, I just got the vaccine about a month ago. It took me a while to get there because I just don't trust government, but I do believe that the vaccine was a miracle. But you got to educate the public. You got to allow them to make this decision. You can't force this on people. And one thing that really troubles me is this notion that if you want your freedom back, then you got to get the vaccine. And I alluded to this in my monologue today. I think this all started because we gave up our civil liberties during the pandemic.
So easily.
Very easily. And I think the government figured out that, yeah, we can get away with this. And I don't think we're going to ever get them back. And this is only the latest example.
I'm glad you brought that up because I saw your conversation with the governor of Georgia, and I thought it was really good. And I appreciated where he was coming from and the other governors who are sort of passing legislation or through executive order saying we're not going to have vaccine passports here. For me, it's not just about this virus and this vaccine.
What's
if
next?
you open the door to that sort of government control, they're not going to stop there. They're also not going to stop. They're going to want to see all of your medical records. Just like, you know, the IRS is going to peep into your bank account.
Right.
The government wants to peep into the most sacred aspect, the most sacred information that you have as a human. And that's what I don't trust. And I think, you know, they're going to have, companies have made so much money with these vaccines. Which is great. I love the free market. That's why we got into the market so quickly. But they're going to want to make more money, and the government is going to want more power, and that combination is terrifying.
I just don't understand, Kennedy, how they're allowed to do this as well when it comes to even companies. You know, I don't want to be, I don't want the government micromanaging private businesses, but we do have HIPAA laws. Like, what's next? Do they get to ask us our entire medical history? It's something that is deeply personal.
What other vaccines are coming forward that they will demand necessary for public health, for maintaining public health?
But the moment you have that conversation, it turns into, well, you're being anti-vax, or you're trying to hurt the public. Part of the reason why...
I got the vaccine.
Exactly. But it still requires this intellectual honesty to have the conversation. And it concerns me, the suppression of the conversation. And by the way, the vaccine isn't approved yet, Kennedy. This was emergency authorization.
Yes.
And so the fact that they're pushing this, and I got to say this because I think it's important, there is still a lot of trauma for a lot of people back when the Tuskegee experiment, and people were taught that generation to generation. The burden is on the government to educate people about this vaccine. It is not incumbent on the people to educate themselves on this vaccine. We don't know what's going on there. A lot of these people don't know how to read the polling or the scientific information. And guess what? Government hasn't done a good job in presenting that information to them. They took the easy route and said, you know what? We'll just hand out millions of dollars. That's what we're going to do. Enter in the lottery. Give you a free cheeseburger. I mean, I'd rather make my own cheeseburger
I've got the shot 15 times because I got Fireball sauce. I got a cheeseburger. I got a T-shirt, a Frisbee. I got a trip to Cancun. I got all this stuff.
How many of those cars do you have? You know they're selling those cars. It's a felony.
Oh, is it? I've only got one then, Lawrence.
Don't worry, I'm not a narc. I'm not gonna
drop a dime.
I'm not gonna call the
Fauci's gonna call me and be like, I'm gonna lock you up and throw away the keys.
Gonna call the DEA on you.
I know they will.
I'm not gonna
stop and
I
frisk.
want drugs legalized. So
No, absolutely. Legalize everything. Lawrence Jones, good to see you.
Thank you, my
We'll
friend.
be watching you tomorrow night and Friday on Fox News Primetime and also on Fox and Friends.
And I'll be
Busy
back
man.
in the Freedom Hut sometime soon.
Absolutely right. The invitation stands. Come for Margarita Mondays.
Now you're talking.
Just made it up, but it's going to be a thing. All right, Lawrence Jones, thank you so much.
All right, so I thought that was pretty interesting, and it's an important discussion to have. You know that I've tried to have this discussion a couple of times about vaccine passports, so it's something I'm really interested in, and something that I hate the idea of, so I will definitely, especially with Kennedy. Man, that girl loves pink. Doesn't she love pink? Holy moly. She did a little sexy dance again, a walk today, which I got on camera. I'm going to string all her little sexy walks together. See how that looks. I'm going to wait. I only seen her do it like once in each week. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen her do it twice. So I don't think she's doing it every day. But I will keep an eye on it. Trust me. She loves pink. And you know the thing about her loving pink is that the motto of Hustler magazine used to be Think Pink. And I always thought that was a great, great motto. Whoever came up with that was excellent. Probably Larry. All right, I'm going to have a bong hit. If anybody like to join me, landlord kind of fucking killed my buzz. I just laughed too hard, laughed my buzz away. Thanks, landlord. All right, this one's for you all. Thank you very much. If you'd like to join me, follow me and do exactly as you see. I needed that. So let's see, where are we at now? Right, I have more videos, or we can call, or we can talk with this caller. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine.
Good. That's good. Did you got outside today, even though it was a little cloudy?
Yeah, we had a nice walk today. How about you?
I didn't get out for a walk today, but I had a chance to go on a nice, like a 200-mile drive, like a loop drive.
Cool.
And went on a nice hike and then visited the ocean for the afternoon.
That was awesome.
Yeah, out on the coast. And then I drove back through, like, I don't know, about 35 miles of clear cut on Forest Service roads, which is kind of interesting. It always depresses me when I take that drive, but I like to see it because those clear cuts, they just they stick with me and they remind me of the kind of impact and damage, people have had on the environment. It's really depressing. It's all private land that's owned by the timber company Weyerhaeuser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. Those are always they look like graveyards.
Yeah, they look like graveyards. They look like battle scenes to me because they don't even bury the bodies. Like they'll take some of the bodies, but they leave a lot of slag piles on the ground that just are bleached in the sun year after year after year. And then sometimes they replant, but even when you drive to the space, right, where they start replanting, all you basically see is a monoculture. So you see the same exact tree every 10 feet, and it looks exactly the same, and it's exactly the same age. And like where I went hiking a week ago was, a mixed old growth forest. So there'd be 300-year-old, hemlock trees next to 200-year-old red cedar trees, next to 400-year-old spruce trees, and they're all mixed and they're all different ages, and it's just and then all the plants are beneath it. That is not what happens in a reforested, managed forest.
Right.
It's just all exactly the same tree.
That was what I was going to see. Is you can't really replant trees. I mean, that just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think the number that resonates in my brain is 95% of the old-growth forest in the United States has been cut down in the continental United States.
Wow.
And there were only, this was like 20 years ago, only 5% of the old-growth forest remained in different parts of the country.
That's really
And
horrible.
once it's destroyed, it's gone. And there are chunks of that in Washington State, in the Cascades, along the mountains, and also in the Olympic National Forest where I was. That's one place. Really old trees, stands of them. It's pretty neat. Your question tonight that you asked, should Iran be allowed to have nuclear weapons?
No. Are you afraid of Iran getting the bomb?
No,
that's the
I'm not
question.
afraid of it.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid of Iran getting the bomb. But the question has a lot of implications to it. Are you afraid of Iran getting a nuclear bomb? Implies, through implication, there's a threat from Iran. Iran poses a threat. And Iran doesn't pose a threat to other nations whatsoever, not even Saudi Arabia or Iraq. In the 1980s, it was Iraq that invaded Iran, if I'm not mistaken. And the Sunni extremists, the religious extremists who've been fighting ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they come from Saudi Arabia. And they're sponsored by the CIA and by the United States. And they attack Iranian troops and Iranian support in Syria and Lebanon indiscriminately and kill Iranians. It isn't Iranians killing Arabs, so to speak, So I see Iran as having the right to defend itself. And I'm not a fan, I'm not a pacifist, but I generally want peace in the world. I'm opposed to war and opposed to militarism. So it might seem odd that I would suggest that, I think it's good that Iran would have a nuclear weapon. But if that was the decision that their leaders had to make, to protect their people and their way of life, well, that's their decision to make. Other countries have made the same decision, like North Korea, for example. North Korea got a nuclear bomb about 10 years ago, and as a consequence of that, we basically we still fuck with them, but we're not going to overthrow their government. That's a fact. Anybody threatens the North Korean regime, they're going to experience the wrath of God. It's that simple. And if Iran might have to take the same kind of precautionary measures. That's how I feel.
I think that's why Iran wants the bomb. So countries stop fucking with them.
Yeah. And talk about fucking hypocrisy here. Israel never, as Mike noted, Israel never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which was this treaty that was floated around in the United Nations for many, many years. And Israel never signed it.
Does Israel have nuclear bombs?
Yeah, Israel does have nuclear bombs, but they have a policy. And if you go to States of Nuclear Weapons, and it's the Wikipedia article, and if you scroll down to Israel, this is what it says. I'll be brief. It says, Israel is widely believed to have been the sixth country in the world to develop nuclear weapons, but it has not acknowledged its nuclear forces. It has rudimentary but deliverable nuclear weapons available as early as 1966. Israel is not a party to the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel engages in strategic ambiguity, that's what it's called, saying it would not be the first country to introduce nuclear weapons into the region, but refusing to otherwise confirm or deny a nuclear weapons program or arsenal. The policy of nuclear opacity has been interpreted as an attempt to get the benefits of deterrence with a minimal political cost. According to various institutes, Israel likely possesses between 75 to 200 nuclear weapons, and I've seen other numbers that say like 50 to 400 nuclear weapons. But 200, I've seen statistics that say Israel is the fourth largest nuclear power in the world. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute estimates that Israel has approximately 80 intact nuclear weapons, 50 for delivery, and they also have multiple delivery systems. They can use submarines. They also can use their aircraft bombers, and they also may have ballistic missiles. They have medium-range ballistic missiles, which means they can launch like less than 1,000 miles with a missile. So they have They have nuclear capability, and they have delivery capability, all right? And they've had this since 1966. And the United States never imposed sanctions on Israel for violating the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, just like the United States never criticizes Israel for human rights abuses in the occupied territories, or why the United States never criticizes Israel for committing war crimes in other countries in the region. We just ignore all of that. But North Korea develops a nuclear weapon, and we put sanctions on North Korea, right? It's hypocrisy. It's just hypocrisy.
Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Israel probably has nuclear weapons, yes. Israel has nuclear weapons, but their government refuses to acknowledge the fact they have nuclear weapons.
Right. I look, I'm just kidding. It's
right, I know, okay.
Yeah, it's you know, it's this supposed to be like nobody knows, but everybody knows. And why no one demands that Israel doesn't join the Non-Proliferation Treaty? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's called the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. That's what it's called.
Why Israel isn't, you know, no countries call Israel out to say, hey, you need to be part of this, or, you know, let us know that you're not going to be, and then we know what kind of fucking rogue country you are.
Then, yeah, you get put on the list with North Korea.
Right.
You tell us the truth, and you get put on that list. You know, if, you know, and the other thing is, it's not only does Israel have nuclear weapons, and it's a rogue nation that attacks all of its neighbors, but the United States also has nuclear weapons deployed in like 8 different countries around the world. No, 5 different countries around the world. The United States has nuclear weapons in Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and we have nuclear weapons in Turkey, all right? And Turkey is on the border of Iran. It's not so far away. So they have nuclear weapons in Turkey, airplanes in Europe that can fly to Iran, you know, with nuclear weapons. We have nuclear-tipped missiles in the United States. Israel has nuclear weapons and delivery systems. You know, I think the Iranians have every right to defend themselves. Israel has threatened Iran so many times. Iraq invaded Iran with the help of the United States.
Not just threatened them. I mean, they've
murdered their general.
They've taken all kinds of action in Iran. They taken out scientists, right? Scientists working on whatever. I mean, and this totally like fucking James Bond way where the scientist is driving down the street and a motorcycle pulls up alongside of it and they put a magnetic mine on it which fucking detonates 15 seconds after the motorcycle rides away. And it blows up, boom, like
nuclear scientists.
Yeah, nobody survives. I mean, they're doing this in Iran. You know, they're attacking Iran constantly.
Yeah, that's an act of war. I mean, you know, from old school rules, like if you start assassinating scientists and assassinating political leaders and assassinating generals at will, that's considered an act of war.
For sure.
And that's Israel's modus operandi towards Iran, and also the way they look at Syria, and it's the way they look at Lebanon as well. You know, any country that's able to defend itself, they become an enemy of the West, and especially an enemy of Israel. Now, one more point about the hypocrisy of all of this, and that is, you know, Cuba is now on the list of state-sponsored terrorism. And there are sanctions that have been put in place since the second week of January. Donald Trump reimposed sanctions on Cuba. There had been no sanctions since 2015. So he reimposed sanctions on Cuba. And Joe Biden, when he became president, 2 weeks later, did not lift those state-sponsored sanctions, Cuba being on that list of state sponsors of terrorism, right?
Yeah.
And Venezuela is on that list of state sponsors of terrorism, which means that American companies aren't allowed to conduct business in Cuba or with Venezuela, like economic stranglehold. But let's be fucking honest here. Israel is the greatest state sponsor of terrorism in like the entire Middle East. Like,
In the Middle East, but the United States is the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we're going to pick and choose countries that the empire feels is like committing human rights violations or political rights violations or civil liberties or violating people's civil liberties, how on earth can you say, what the fuck has Cuba done to its people or anyone in the region? The only thing Cuba does is it exports doctors and sends doctors to throughout Latin America for free to places where they don't have doctors, like in the mountains and in the jungle and in remote locations. Cuba sends free doctors to those locations, and they have economic relations with other nations in South America. But I mean, their goal isn't like to overthrow the United States government. It's to help the Cuban people. They're not state sponsors of terrorism. And why are we torturing the people of Cuba just because they have a different form of government than us? And then you compare that to Israel, like apartheid in Israel.
Yeah. No. Can you imagine what Cuba would be like if the sanctions were lifted and we gave them $23 million a day? It would be one of the most fabulous places on earth.
Well, I bet they could use that $23 billion, or they could use that, $2 billion a year, or whatever they get, $3 billion a year.
3.8.
Yeah, they could use that 3-point-some billion dollars. I bet they would be able to do good with it and to help people in Cuba and in the Caribbean and throughout the whole region. I know that they would. But that would defeat the interest of the mining companies. That would defeat the interest of the timber companies and the oil companies and all the manufacturers that are taking advantage of cheap labor in those countries. And, we like those, like, subservient relationships we have with those countries so we can steal their shit and exploit their people. And people in the nations of the world like Cuba and Venezuela and Iran and China and Russia are standing up to protect themselves from just being victims of like global cop or global capitalism, whatever you want to call it. And I wish them well, because if they lose, if in the big picture of the Russians and Chinese and Iranians and Venezuelans and Cubans, if at the end of the day they lose, it means I think the forces of evil will dominate the entire planet at will as they please. And I think that would just make things worse myself. I believe that.
If they can, you got to admit it's getting better. It can't get much worse.
Hey, I saw this other story, kind of unrelated, but it's about, this is from the Middle East Eye, and they cover issues in Israel and Palestine. And they posted this story today. It says, Google search results. So if you search in Google that a Palestinian kafia is a symbol of terrorism. Popular search engine triggers outrage after users discover that Googling the words, "What scarf do terrorists wear?" shows the iconic headdress as the top result. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
so,
it's not really interesting. It's racist.
It is kind of racist, to say the least. And in the article it says, the kafia has been a historical headdress of Arabs and Palestinians for decades, originating with farmers and later becoming a symbol of Palestinian nationalism associated with this historical cultural icon with terrorism is racist and dehumanizing. And that was from the Center on Arab Rights. That's what they say. Yeah, it's totally racist. So that's what the algorithm in Google will give you. If you search in what does a terrorist wear, he wears a kafia.
Again, I'd just like to say that Google is pure evil. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So, and then it goes on to say, in this article, it says that Google and Amazon have recently signed a $1.2 billion deal with Israel. Sections of social media were alight with outrage over the discovery on Monday that Amazon Web Services, along with Google, signed a $1.2 billion deal with Israel. A project called Nimbus will see the two tech companies provide cloud services for the Israeli public sector and the Israeli military. The agreement confirmed in April, signed on Monday, came just days after a group of employees at Google, dubbed the Jewish Diaspora in Tech, urged CEO Sundar Pichai to end business contracts that violate Palestinian human rights. And anyway, it came to light that they're actually providing cloud services for the military of Israel.
And Mossad and, whoever else that we're not supposed to know about.
Yeah, what other... Yeah. And last story, I know other people are going to call it. Last story is, and this is from Georgia, a federal judge declares Georgia's anti-BDS law, boycott, divest, sanction Israel, declares that Georgia's anti-BDS law violates the First Amendment. And this was from 2 days ago. And this is about Abby Martin, because Abby Martin is a videographer. She has a program.
She's a journalist.
Called Yes, and she has a program called The Empire Files on YouTube. And she's been a critic of the media for years and years and years. She was going to give a speech at a college in Georgia, and before she could give the speech, she was required to sign a letter that said that she does not in any way support the BDS movement against Israel, something to that effect.
Where was she giving the speech at? Where was she giving the speech at?
At a state college in Georgia, like West Georgia, or a state college, community college in Georgia. And this federal judge.
And you said she refused. You were saying, and I cut you off. She refused to sign the contract or the statement that says that she does not support the boycott, divest, and sanction Israel movement in any way.
Exactly.
And she didn't sign it. She refused to sign it. Go ahead.
She refused to sign it, Mike, and then they would not let her speak, and then she promptly filed a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, saying that her civil rights, specifically her First Amendment right to assemble and her First Amendment right to speak, were being violated by this Georgia law.
Yeah.
And the ruling on Friday, a federal judge said she was right. So that means that, I don't know if it means she wins the lawsuit, but it means that she has standing and that the lawsuit goes forward. And it says, a federal judge said the Georgia law banning the state from doing business with anyone promoting boycott of Israel violates the First Amendment. In a ruling issued Friday, District Court Judge Cohen rejected state officials' efforts to dismiss a lawsuit from Abby Martin, a progressive journalist and documentary filmmaker challenging the law. Cohen said in a 29-page decision that the law prohibits inherently expressive conduct protected by the First Amendment and burdens Martin's right to free speech. It is not narrowly tailored to further a substantial state interest. So he goes on to talk about the importance of having different kinds of speech. And that's the whole point of the fucking First Amendment. According to the Council on American Islamic Relations, which represented Martin in the lawsuit, Georgia is one of 26 states that have enacted laws seeking to hinder the BDS movement, which advocates for economic pressure on Israel in protest of occupied Palestinian land and alleged human rights abuses against Arabs under occupation. This organization has challenged similar state laws and won favorable court decisions in Arizona, Kansas, and Texas. The decision on Friday came on the heels of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that ended in a brief, lopsided battle. Anyway, so just to note that that's good news that a federal judge stood up for a person's First Amendment right, and I am curious to see how it goes forward, because it isn't a resolution. It just says the lawsuit has standing, and the state of Georgia declined to comment about the story. So that's from Georgia.
I really like Abby Martin. When she had her television show, I used to post videos from her 3 or 4 times a week. She's really awesome.
She, when she was on RT, she still does have the Empire Files show and has posted in the last, for your other viewers tonight, and has posted in the last couple of months, like one of her most recent stories on Empire Files is about the United States supporting the government of Uganda in Central Africa and all of the wars that the U.S. military and other colonial powers have used Uganda as a platform to spread instability in all of the countries around Uganda. It's only about 12 minutes long for people who are interested. But Abby Martin is a treasure. She's one of those a dozen or so investigative journalists who keeps us informed, and I'm really happy that her lawsuit has standing, and hopefully she'll win in court and maybe get some money out of it, a federal lawsuit.
I hope she gets some money out of it too, because being violated like that is as if you don't have any rights at all. And obviously the government of Georgia kind of believes that you don't have any rights at all, especially First Amendment. And the reason that we have the First Amendment in the first place is so that we can say the things we need to be said, and in the second place so that we can say them about not only our government but other governments too.
Yeah, it should just be a recognized human right that people have the right to express themselves, and if you don't like what they're saying, you're not obliged to stand there and listen to them, right? You can leave, you can change the channel, you can do something else with your time, but you just can't tell somebody to shut the fuck up, or they're going to experience negative shit, like you're going to beat them up, you're going to isolate them, you're going to prevent them from talking to other people. That's
you're going to take away their rights. You can't, and you can't. Yeah, no, that's horrible, dude. And I would be really happy if she got like a big settlement that made all governments question doing shit like that again. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, those are the three stories I wanted to share with you tonight, Mike. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm going to listen to the rest of the callers.
Okay, Chris, thanks very much for calling. It's good to hear from you. Glad you had a great day.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome. Thanks. Have a good night.
See ya. Okay, so doesn't look like we have a phone caller at the moment. If you'd like to call, the number's right there on the screen, 805-669-6397, 805-MOX News. And let's see, my beautiful baby went under the river, so he's kind of taking a break and having a swim. But let's see, where are we at? Not there. Oh, I want to see this. I want to see my beautiful babies again, in case you're wondering where they're at. Rufus is under the river, like I said. So I have a video for you here about Iran nuclear talks. No, not that one. Oh, let's see. Chemicals and... Oh, I want to play this one. This is an important video. Okay? This video right here shows... it shows why there was a war in Gaza. It shows why Hamas shot missiles into Israel. And it's the first video I've seen of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, from inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, when the Israeli police were throwing flashbang grenades and tear gas into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's the first video I've seen, explosions going off, women crying and screaming and running. It's horrific that this kind of people exist on the earth. By that I mean people who would attack people peacefully praying. What kind of pieces of shit do that? The great Satan and the little Satan, I guess. But I just, the fear that's seen in this video, I wanted you guys to see it because I can't believe people do this and get away with it, and the whole world acts like, oh yeah, well, Hamas shot missiles at them. Not before they threw grenades into one of the holiest sites in Islam on one of the holiest days of Ramadan, into people peacefully praying and stealing land and homes again and again and again. which this video is actually about. It's about them stealing homes, but I just wanted to point out that this is the best video, or the only video I've seen from inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque when they're throwing the flashbang grenades and the tear gas. And I thought many people would probably need to see that. So I'm going to play it for you now.
Israel police on Tuesday suspended an officer after a video emerged of him apparently shooting a sponge-tipped bullet into the back of a Palestinian teenage girl in East Jerusalem as she was obeying his order to go back into her home. In footage first aired by Khan News, Jannah Kiswani, who is 16 years old, and several of her relatives can be seen stepping out of the door of their home in the Flashpoint neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah on May 18th as a protest was held nearby. Video taken from a second angle shows officers outside the home, one of whom threatens to give you one if they didn't go back inside. As the family walked back inside, an officer fires his gun towards the home in the first video. The girl is then seen collapsing and can be heard crying out after being struck in the back. In the second video, the same officer then appears to remove a stun grenade from his vest moments before it was thrown into the home. Jannah's father, Muhammad Kiswani, was also hit in the leg with the sponge-tipped bullet that was fired into the home, according to a report in Haaretz daily newspaper.
Israel and Hamas continue to observe the ceasefire that was agreed last Thursday after 11 days of violence. But the disputes that helped ignite that fighting remain unresolved. One of them is the fate of Palestinian families living in Arab East Jerusalem. Many of them are being threatened with eviction after claims from Jewish settler groups that the land actually belongs to them. The case over their eviction is currently sitting before Israel's Supreme Court. Our correspondent Paul Adams has been to the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah and he's sent us this report.
Samira's garden feels like an oasis, a place of shade and calm at the center of a furious incendiary dispute which helped to trigger a war. She and her husband Adel have lived here for decades.
3 or 4 generations.
Both their families were driven from homes in West Jerusalem during Israel's War of Independence in 1948. Under Israeli law, they cannot get them back. History, they fear, is about to repeat itself.
We think that the very happy period that we lived in this house is going to end. We'll feel that we will be refugees for the second time.
It's quiet today, but this is the street in Sheikh Jarrah where 28 extended families are threatened with eviction. Across the way, a house taken over by settlers more than 10 years ago. Israel says the law favors the settlers. Jews owned land here before Israel came into being. They're just claiming it back.
We're a country of law and order, and therefore these families are going to be evicted for non-payment of rent for a protected tenancy that the Israeli courts, I think quite rightly, gave them at the time. So, you know, we have a property dispute that's been conflagrated into a political dispute in order to invent a provocation.
Tempers flared here during Ramadan, a dispute decades in the making exploding into violence. At the nearby Al-Aqsa Mosque, more trouble. Jerusalem, it seemed, was on fire. Hamas joined in, firing rockets straight at the city. We, they declared, are here to defend you. When the fighting ended, Palestinians in Jerusalem celebrated what some saw as a victory for Hamas. But did it really do anything to change reality on the ground? This process of Jewish settlers moving into homes in heavily Arab neighborhoods around the old city of Jerusalem has been going on for decades. It started off down here in Silwan in the 1990s, and now the focus of attention has shifted to Sheikh Jarrah, just over there. The question is, what's it all for?
What we're seeing now is the encirclement of the old city.
Daniel Seidman has been charting this process for 30 years.
There is a concerted effort to displace the Palestinians who live there and to replace them with biblically motivated settlers. That's what's happening. It is not an accident that the Temple Mount and Sheikh Jarrah were the triggers of this convulsive violence.
Adil and Samira are threatened with eviction on August the 1st, a couple of months to win or lose the house and garden they've shared for 47 years. Their situation just as precarious after the war as it was before. Paul Adams, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Had to have a brownie. All right, that's what terrorism looks like right there. People throwing bombs into a holy place, holy site, throwing bombs while people are praying. That's exactly what terrorism looks like. And that happened long before any Hamas rockets were shot. Not long before, it happened a couple days before. And it's terrorism. That is terrorism. That's who apparently the Israeli cops are. And I don't know why anyone else isn't calling that out as terrorism. They are terrorists. Okay? I don't want to hear anything about other people being terrorists until we address this. Fucking pieces of shit throwing bombs into a holy place while people are praying. Okay? If I'm wrong, the telephone number is right there on the screen. You can call me and tell me, no, they're not terrorists. I know what terrorist looks like, and those are fucking piece of shit terrorists. So let's have a talk about it, huh? The number's there on the screen, 805-669-6397, 805-MOX News. And until then, what would you like to talk about? I'm going to play another video, unless we're going to get some phone callers, because this is about having a discussion. And that's another thing. Do you see these people that are living in homes for generations, and now they're getting thrown out of them because somehow Israelis own those homes that the people have been living in for generations? No, they don't own those homes. What they're saying isn't that they own the homes, it's that they own the land underneath it because God gave it to them. And whatever fucked up people would use an excuse like that to murder children and to throw people out of their homes, then that's a pretty fucked up piece of shit God. Okay? And I don't know why anyone would ever worship a fucked up piece of shit God like that would have the chosen people throwing other people out on the street. They would have the chosen people rolling grenades into a church, into a holy site where people are peacefully praying. What kind of piece of shit God is that? You tell me. One with its heart filled with hate. Okay? So why would anyone choose to worship something like that? Please explain it to me. Because that's the way I see it. If you're the chosen people, how about you act like it? How about you act like you're a higher, more sentient being that's here to help the lower beings up. But you're not here to help anybody, are you? Netanyahu. Netanyahu just murders people. Okay? That's what he's based his whole career on. And if he didn't start this fucking war with Gaza in just the last few days, he would never, ever, ever be reelected. And somebody, you would think, would figure it out that before every fucking election in Israel, somehow there's a war with Gaza. And we gotta have strong leaders like Netanyahu, who just murders Palestinian children at the snap of a finger. Yeah, we want that guy leading us. Is that right, Israelis? Because it sure seems like that's what you want. A murdering piece of garbage as your leader. That's who you vote for? That's who you choose? It's no wonder the whole world's mad at you. You choose a piece of shit that murders children to lead your country. Now, that being said, Joe Biden is a piece of shit, but I find it very hard to believe that Joe Biden was actually elected when Joe Biden couldn't fill high school auditoriums, and Donald Trump is not only filling giant coliseums, there's 10,000 people standing outside waiting because they couldn't get in. Now, I've only seen this done once before, and that was Barack Obama, in giant venues like this. So, and I'm not even sure that Barack Obama spoke in as large of venues as Donald Trump. Well, he spoke in Paris and like 1 million people showed up. But that's not the United States. That's not Fresno. That's not Miami. It is not Los Angeles. 1 million people didn't show up in Los Angeles when Obama spoke there. So, I find it very difficult that Joe Biden was elected, especially considering Joe Biden has run for president, not just been vice president, but run for president like 4 times now, and he's had 3 complete and utter failures. He couldn't fill a high school auditorium on this campaign, and somehow he was able to get 80 million votes. So he can stand there and talk about Israel has the right to defend itself. How about Palestinians that are having bombs dropped in their churches, tear gas, while they're peacefully praying? Does the Palestinians have the right to protect themselves, to defend themselves? Because I don't hear anyone saying that in the United States government. I don't hear anyone saying that in pretty much any government around the world, or any news program, or anything where, it's actually a discussion going on. Because, that's a discussion that needs to be had. Oh, Israel has the right to defend itself. Do the Palestinians have that same right? Isn't that a human right that belongs to everyone? And shouldn't someone be stepping up when these people's human rights are being violated? As if somehow it's the chosen people violating them because they just don't matter? They're not the chosen people? Is that right? I'm tired of no real justice in this world. Oh, we have to file criminal charges against Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Obama helped George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Obama and Biden and Hillary Clinton helped Dick Cheney and George W. Bush murder 1 million innocent Iraqis. Hello, caller.
Hey, Max, how's it going?
Okay. How's it going for you?
It's going good. I was flipping the YouTube channels, flipped onto your show, and heard you talking my language. The Joe Biden, 80 million votes, most popular president ever.
Yeah.
Dude, Obama was just holding him back, dude. Nobody liked that. Compared to Joe Biden, dude, fuck, dude. Obama was just like one of those, one of these awful politicians that nobody really liked. They just kind of held their nose and voted for him anyway. But that Joe Biden, man, love that guy. Most popular president ever.
Yeah.
Like, just wanted to, just let everybody know, man. First off, if you haven't figured it out, I'm not talking to you, Mark. I'm talking to the listeners, all 20 to 30 of them. Like, don't believe the news. Everything the news tells you, just always assume it's a lie and consider the opposite the truth, and you'll be more likely right. I'm right all the time. That whole COVID coming from the lab in Wuhan. Dude, I've been saying that since day one. You know what I mean? Every time a conversation would come up, I always be like, yeah, this is, Chinese lab. We're living under biological warfare virus.
Well, and, part of the reason I believe that discussion is being had in such a way or framed in such a way is that, oh, we can't, it couldn't have come from a lab, is because I believe that virus was actually started in a lab in the United States, and then they moved it to a lab in China where a huge amount of U.S. financing went to. So, and I'm really waiting for China to start talking about this because they have a story to tell, I guarantee it.
Well, Max, you don't have to like speculate. That's the truth. Bill Gates, or like the Bill Gates Foundation or whatever, corporation, owns the fucking patent on the coronavirus. And like, they've talked about giving it to China. They openly admit it, but in the news, in the media, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. It's like right there, right in front of you. You telling me like that's a lie, and they will. They'll tell you straight up it's a lie. Like they knew apparently a year ago, pretty much. In fact, I think it was in February of 2020, that these people were sick at the lab with these fucking symptoms before the outbreak. And and like they're like they fucking they sat on it, they knew on it, and they basically lied to all of us. Just like and then they we've entered a new stage of their lives where it's not just good enough for them to lie to us, they have to silence us too. Like like how many fucking YouTube channels, probably thousands, were taken off the fucking site, deplatformed, depersoned, just basically just kicked to the curb, just for doing this. They went after doctors, right?
Yeah.
They were like scientists.
They're still doing that.
Try and ruin their careers.
Yeah, they're still doing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then like what was it? I think it was Project Veritas. I think this was kind of breaking news within the last couple of days. Where they found, I think it was Facebook. I didn't watch their video yet. Like, I think it was Facebook where, like, they, shadow banned, anybody who was, anti-vax or, even potentially just not I forgot the stupid term they used, not a vax enthusiast or whatever. And, they censored them, to, just like they censored, people questioning why somehow Joe Biden became the most popular president ever at 4 a.m. after the election was supposed to be over.
Yeah, they didn't just shadow ban those people. Anybody with using the hashtag Stop the Steal was deleted from Twitter.
Yeah, they're still hunting down people from the January 6th thing, right? They're still hunting down people for that shit, they're going crazy over it, like they did that, but, it was exactly like Stop the Steal and coronavirus. Like, it's like a conceited, very unusual effort to shut people up, like,
right.
On both cases, right?
Well,
it's like, and they're both right, and that's why they're shutting people up.
Yeah.
And like we just gotta wait till one day CNN admits it so it becomes official. I don't need to wait for that.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need to wait for that crap.
Nobody in the year 2021 needs to wait for that. Everybody knows already.
And like, why would I'm just shocked at just how many people, over the last year and a half or whatever, every time I mention that it came from a lab in China, dude, they all groaned.
Yeah.
I could probably count the number of people on one hand who were like, yep, you're fucking right. Like, it's just a casual conversation, dude. It's like, I'm not asking you to fill out some sort of government confessional form. You're just talking to a dude on the street. And they just legit believed it. And I just can't believe it. Like, why they fooled so many people. This is like a massive psychological warfare that they did on, like, literally billions of people.
It really
in a lie.
It really bothers me that, like, this campaign went on and, like, so many people fell in line to be injected with some kind of serum that, really isn't tested. I mean, the FDA hasn't even approved it. It's been approved on this emergency, thing. Like, they haven't actually done the official approval. It's just an emergency approval. And to think that everybody around the world is lining up to get stuck with this serum all at the same time, it just really bothers me. It's like some kind of fucking weird science fiction movie, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to bring up my own little, story about that, I have my friend who I talk politics day in, day out, every day. We worked at a job together, we ate lunch, and we just talked politics during lunch, freely, and then, we have generally, mostly the same opinions, on a lot of topics. We're not identical or anything like that. But he really fell for the anti-vax memes, I guess the anti-vaxxers, right? The ones that make fun of people not getting injected and shit. Like when he told me he got his shot for the COVID shot, he was like, "Are you getting it?" I'm like, "Hell no." He said, "Really? Are you fucking nuts?" Blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, what can it do?" It's like, "I don't know. Could kill you." He's like, "Dude, nobody's never died from COVID." And I was like, "Dude, are you serious?" Let me Google it. Let me pull up a mainstream article. And it's like, 1,600 or whatever many people at that time had already just dropped dead after they took the COVID vaccine, And there was like, well, it said that, Forbes thing, one of them died in a car accident. And I was like, of course it did. Of course they're going to tell you about that one guy that died in a car accident. I was like, dude, but he literally thought nobody died from taking this vaccine. He thought nobody died from taking vaccines. He thought they were perfectly safe, legit thought that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that's one of the parts that they're not explaining to anybody. They're not making clear. Every once in a while you see a little story. I posted a story about a woman that died in Oregon, but that was one of these local news things. You don't see him on the mainstream national news talking about that at all. So,
they just had a news story. It was, I think I read it yesterday. It was William Shakespeare. That's the dude's actual name. Was the first guy in the UK to get shot with the vaccine. He died.
Well, again, I don't know that that's true, but I'm not saying that it's not. I don't want to think, just pass, information without knowing the facts. But again, I just see this where it's like this mass vaccination, get in line and get your shot like a fucking cow, and they keep saying, herd immunity. You get in line and get your shot, and it's just happening everywhere around the world. I swear, it looks to me like such a strange science fiction movie, like a Twilight Zone episode or something,
Yeah, I mean, it's a total dystopian future, It's like I never thought, I would live through this, Max, you know what I mean?
And it's not just... It's not just...
I'll be happy if I don't have to go buy, a loaf of bread with a wheelbarrow of cash, kind of. I never thought I'd have to live through that. Now I think I probably will.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it's not just, getting a shot, but it's like I see people in parking lots, right? Completely unsterile fucking places, and they're sticking their arm outside their car door to get, it's so strange. I never thought I would see that, because that seems just, it seems like basically a junkie getting shot up in an alleyway somewhere, right? It's like, that's what happens on the street when you see needles. It's a fucking junkie shooting up in an alleyway. It's not somebody driving. I mean, oh my God, the junkies don't drive up to the fucking dealer and give him fucking money and he shoots shit in their arm, It's so strange, man. I again, it's this Twilight Zone thing that is just bizarro world to me.
Yeah, they could have at least done it in a Starbucks bathroom, right?
I mean, it wouldn't have been less sterile than what they're doing now. So it doesn't make a big world of difference.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I have friends on Discord that are in Canada, and so I talk to them when I play video games and shit. And man, dude, they are still under lockdowns. I just looked at a news article, and I actually clicked on the damn link just because I was like, no, this ain't true, right? You know, like, I don't even know if I pronounce it, Saskatoon? Or whatever,
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Police department
Yeah, it
in
sounds about
in Canada, they were going to the public to find these 10 people at an anti-mask rally that they were trying to identify. And I don't know anybody going to an anti-mask rally. I think that's the Canadian propaganda term, because I thought all these rallies were about the lockdowns and the curfews and all this fucking draconian shit that's putting on the Canadians.
I want to have a burn your mask party on July 4th. Let's all get together and throw these masks where they belong, in the fire.
But you know, I mean, like I clicked on the link and it went to the Saskatoon PD website, and I saw the pictures of the people, and they were like, "You got any tips to help us find these anti-mask rally people?" You know, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, I mean, seriously, dude, they're asking people to snitch, and they're not even, like I said, anti-mask rally is their weird propaganda term.
Right. I
don't
agree.
think anybody's really, like, protesting, like, getting together to protest a mask. Like, you just don't wear your mask, right? Like, they're protesting these lockdowns, these curfews, these $1,500 fines if you're outside walking your dog at 3 a.m., right? Like, that's what they're protesting, not masks. But I guess they will, because I guess they figure everybody loves masks.
Well, it's part of the masks are part of it. People don't want to wear masks, and they're tired of wearing masks. And we went to the casino the other night for dinner, and it was packed full of people, and there was no one wearing masks except for the cocktail waitresses. None of the waiters in the restaurant or anything were wearing masks. The cocktail waitresses in the casino were, but nobody else, no customers, and it was packed full of people, and it was kind of like a weight off your chest, like, you know, that we got a little bit of freedom back or something, you know.
Well, you know, down south, you know, over in the southeast over here, man, it's like, yeah, it's been kind of like that for a while. Like, the restaurants are packed, dude. Nobody's fucking wearing a mask. Are you retarded? You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to eat, right? You know, like, nobody's doing that. And I think my friend sent me a thing. I think it was in Daytona Beach, doing like this 4 or 5 day rock music festival where they got like Metallica and Gwar. And,
Gwar, really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
I haven't heard that name since Beavis and Butthead.
Dave Brockie, the lead singer, Otis Urungus, unfortunately died. You know, but you know, they're still going on without him. You know, I mean, they got so much stuff.
Yeah, I would love to see them. I think I had a chance almost to see them once, and I missed it. And it was at a little tiny venue, and I would have really liked to see them, but it just wasn't an option at the time. So.
Dude, I've seen them 6 times, dude. The first time, like, every year they just kind of got more famous and a little bit more lazy. So, like, the sets got shorter and shorter and shorter. But, dude, man, they come out, you know, they got their big fucking Muppets, you know. They got, like, Mike Tyson, the Pope, and Barack Obama, and they're cutting off their head, and they got, like hoses, you know. They're, like, you're just getting covered in, like all this dyed ink. You know, like, man, like people would just wear white and just, like, you know, everybody just look crazy, dude. Like, if you go there, dude, do not wear your best clothes, right? To see Gwar, because they're going to spray you down with a bunch of fake blood and semen and stuff. And, like, oh, man, it's actually one of the more fantastic kind of shows you can go. It's just everybody comes out there smiling. You know, Gwar's, like, you know, it's just so unique. It's one of the messiest shows you can go to.
Well, when you say
there's one messier.
Yeah, when you say their sets got shorter and shorter as they got laser and laser, how long would their show last?
Well, I mean, when I originally saw them, dude, they must have went for like 2 hours or more. You know, but then like towards the end of the last one, it must have been like a half hour.
Really?
You know, but they were. Yeah,
wow.
like you know, they were like, you know, like well, maybe not half hour, you know, maybe like an hour or something like that. I didn't, like, you know, put a stopwatch or anything, but it was a lot shorter. And like you know, but they were like headlining like every metal festival they were attending, and they were like attending almost all of them. Like, they were the headline.
Wow.
And you know, they definitely, they're not the headliner on this big tour, but it's got like, you know, I don't want to say Nickelback, but what are the other ones? You know, not System of a Down, but, you know, these kind of like, you know, radio station rock metal bands
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And, you know, they lost Dave Brockie, who was the lead singer, you know, the Odorous Youngest guy. And, you know, I mean, his voice was just so unique, and I really enjoyed it. I actually listened to all the albums. I was a fan, like, before Beavis and Butthead, even, you know what I mean? Like, but, yeah, they're an awesome show. But, yeah, we're having festivals down south, you know what I mean? We're like legit multi-day festivals with, like, you know, like 100 bands. You know, it's like the first one announced, you know. And, you know, like you saw, you saw where, like, you go to restaurants, nobody's wearing a mask. You know what I mean? Like, you go to, like, I went to the grocery store, and, like, a third of the people were wearing a mask, or not wearing a mask. You know, other people were, like, you know, the sign says won't serve you, but, you know, these people are just walking around. You know,
They just dropped the
then, like,
mask mandate at the local grocery store where we go, so I'm interested in finding out what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, if I go to the gas station down the street, you know, nobody wears the mask, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they like, the employees, you know, have a chin diaper,
Yeah.
you know, where they just kind of wear it on their chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
According to...
Actually, last time I went there, even the cashier wasn't even wearing it. He was like, he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, I think the fear-mongering's over.
It's, you know, that's part of what's going on. It's also... like I said, look, at the beginning of this thing, I told everybody, you know, I mean, we were getting calls that people were saying, we're all going to die. And I was like, look, just stay cool and we'll get through it. I don't know if you all remember that, but I was like, just stay cool. We'll get through it. Because you don't want to buy into the hyped up fear, because fear makes you misstep things. If you misstep in the middle of a plague, you might not make it through it. So, you know, it's the hyped up fear is, I think it's also one of the things that I said after Joe Biden was elected, right away after he was elected, was that this will go away by May, by April or May. And the reason that I said it will no longer be front of the news story every single day, every single hour. And the reason I said that is because if it doesn't go away by May, in order for people to get, you know, ramped up with their whole summer thing where they go out and they spend money on all kinds of stuff that they wouldn't spend on because the weather's nice, if it's not ramped up, if it's not let go, you know, this we're all going to die thing by then, Joe Biden's going to have Joe Biden will have a failed economy. And if Joe Biden has a failed economy, you know, everybody's going to go fuck Biden, and, you know, so...
Oh, well, you know, I do want to talk about that. You know, the April-May thing. You know, I mean, it kind of was easily predictable, right? You know, the election was over, right? You know, they can't. You know, like a lot of this shit is just to make Trump look bad. You know, like the whole it didn't come from a lab. You know, like they knew it came from a lab, but by saying it didn't, it just made Trump look bad. You know. So once the election was over, you know, like, you know, even then, like that the next day, before, like the very next day, they're all partying out in the streets without masks, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, COVID's real, COVID's very dangerous, and you know, and they you know, they kind of had to go like, okay, you know, we can't just stop. You know, we got to give it a few months till April, you know, before we reopen. Honestly, don't even think we needed a vaccine. You know, I bet we'd be fine by April either way, you know? And, like, but they had to, like, you can't just go from, oh, my God, it's the end of the world, to, yeah, okay, election's over. Like, you know, they got to ease you in, you know, God, wait till, by spring, and by 4th of July, you'll be at the barbecue with two people that are 6 feet away from you without wearing masks, and it's going to be great.
And now it's okay to be around people as long as you've been vaccinated. So it's like this is your last chance, people. You better get vaccinated now, otherwise you can't hang out with anyone. You know, and as I've said again and again, I don't wear a mask. outdoors. I've never, the entire time that we've done this, I've never worn a mask outdoors. And every time, and we walk every single day, me and my pooches. And when we're walking and we see our local UPS driver, every time he's near us, he stops and he gives us a hug, and he gives me a hug, and asks how everything is going. And he doesn't wear a mask either, and he's handling packages from all over the world. So I just find the whole bit very weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it was the psyop of the century, right? You know, I mean, come on, like, I don't want to say that yet, because the century ain't over. In fact, it's hardly even begun.
Right.
God,
Who knows what they'll release next year, or when Joe Biden needs to get reelected, and we need strong leadership.
And speaking of strong leadership, right? I wanted to talk about this at least one last subject here. The fucking Rand Paul death threat. The white powder, which I mean, I don't know, is that feds? Are the feds the only ones that do that? I don't know. Maybe it was a person, like a legit regular civilian. But like this is like they did that because he was telling the truth, right? Like he was the first one that was brave enough to stand in front of fucking Fauci and just go, "You're fucking lying. Why did you fucking fund this shit?"
Yeah.
Like, why did you lie this entire fucking time? And a lot of people are now realizing, oh, you know what? Fauci just fucking repeats what he saw on the news 2 days ago. He's like that. He's like a fucking guest host on the news. He's like, well, from what I saw, and then he just basically regurgitates what he fucking saw on the news.
I see him as this person, like a failing, a star who's been a star for a while, and then he's starting to lose his fan base, and he's doing everything to try and get the fans back, and he's like clinging to what he's got left, and pretty soon he's gonna be a goner, and he knows it, and he's got to get that little bit of attention that's still there for him. It's horrible, dude. That guy is disgusting, and I don't know. I don't know if it's the feds who did the threatening letter to Rand Paul. There's a lot of crazy people out there, and a lot of them are really big on this whole we gotta get. I was walking down the street, like I said, I walk every day. One of my neighbors I was like, "Hey, how's it going? How's your dog?" I say hi to everybody. And she says, "Oh, we're doing good." And she says, "We just have to get a few more people vaccinated and we're going to make it." Just like, you were talking to the wrong guy, lady. Moving on.
Yeah, but like Rand Paul, I mean, it's amazing how, it was less than a week. This happened, we're still in the same week where, he confronted Fauci. He got, all this hate because he dared to go up against the cult of Fauci. These random strangers are sending him death threats and stuff like that to make him fearful for daring to question Dr. Fauci. And then now it's just he said the right things. He put it out there. He's like, "Why are you funding gain of function?" It's like, just really grilled him, and he was like, being really weaselly. He's like, "We didn't fund the lab." He very specifically did not fund the lab. He funded the people who fund the lab. Very, very specific thing. It's a big difference,
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh, now everybody knows. Oh, yeah, it's the lab. The fact thinking it came from a wet it's just downright stupid. So I don't think that. Nobody thinks that, But somehow we all thought that for a year and a half, right? And it was just amazing. It went from oh my God, how dare he? I'm going to send him a death threat to basically everybody just accepting it. And within less than a week. And it's just it's just things are moving so quick. And this is the fourth attempt on Rand Paul's life. I think he had the baseball shooting. He had his neighbor tackle him. I think he had a mob of people surrounding him over the summer, and police were fucking pushing people back, and he was stumbling around and shit. I think people really hate the truth. It really triggers a lot of people. They don't.
I think it was Ted Cruz who had a mob of people around him. I remember seeing that.
No, it's Rand. I follow Rand. In fact, I've been a big Rand Paul supporter. And before Trump, I was definitely voting for him for president in 2016. I think right now he's easily the top 3 Republican candidates. Obviously, number 1 is Donald Trump. Number 2, I think, is DeSantis. He's done such a good job in Florida. Like, you know, and it's not just being a Republican, too, because Rick Scott was a Republican. He was a horrible fucking governor. You know, like, some people are just better executives than others. You know, DeSantis is definitely good. He banned passports. He lifted all the vaccine shit, you know.
Rick Scott is one of the biggest Medicare fraud criminal in the history of Medicare fraud, and he went on to be a senator of the United States. Okay, Florida is a really fucked up state, man.
Yeah, like Rick Scott was particularly bad. Like, he did a bad job of running the state. I mean, like, Florida's naturally good. They have, like, no income tax, so, you know, like, you know, it's a good economic environment, you know, for growth. But, yeah, I mean, like, compared to, like, I mean, it's almost like, you know, they switched from Democrat to Republican or something. It was, like, such a huge switch between Rick Scott, who I think is, you know, you're just, you know, your typical political sleaze.
He's not. Again, he's not. It's not true. He is the biggest Medicare fraud criminal ever in the United States in the history of Medicare fraud. This is not something I'm making up. Okay, he did that before he became the governor of Florida, and then went on to become a senator. Okay, he did over $1 billion in Medicare fraud, and somehow, you know, he's like not a problem. It's I don't understand. I guess I understand. They're all criminals. You know, criminals don't mind hanging out with other criminals.
Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, he had the OxyContin farms down in Miami, I think it was. You know, I think that's where a lot of the Medicare fraud, you know, like selling probably like OxyContin illegally.
Yeah.
Or selling them something else to sell them OxyContin, you know, some sort of weird fraud, you know. I think that was whatever. I forget the name of the stupid company he was working for. But he sucked. But like I said, yeah, DeSantis is up there for the Republicans and for and Rand Paul.
Yeah, but DeSantis.
Ted Cruz is a distant fourth. He's kind of been revealed to be like as a false person, you know, as a plant, I guess you could say. But I'd take him over Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney any day of the week.
Ted Cruz is not eligible to run for president. Ted Cruz was.
You're probably right about that.
Ted Cruz was born in Canada. I am right about that. You have to be born in this country to be eligible to run for president. Ted Cruz's father took him from this country to Canada because, oh wait, that might be Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was born in fucking Mexico. Okay, I don't know what the deal is with Republicans, but you'd think, you know, people who talk about, oh, the Constitution this, the Constitution that, would care about little fucking particular things like, oh, this guy wasn't born in the country, so he's not eligible to run for president. Seems, you know, really basic.
During the 2016 Republican debates, Rand Paul did call Ted Cruz out for saying, hey, I don't even think you're eligible to run, you know, weren't you born in Canada? I think he actually did that during one of the debates, you know.
But why isn't everybody, I mean, why are they letting him run for president? Because everybody knows this. All the people in Congress know this. So why are they letting him do it? Why are they letting Mitt Romney run for president?
I mean, Mike, you know, I know this is like I said, you know, truth does trigger a lot of people, you know, gets people really mad. And what I'm going to say is going to make people really mad, but we had Barack Obama as president, okay? His own grandmother, his Harvard bio, and just like pretty much everything until he ran for president said he was from Kenya, okay? That's his grandmother, that's his own bio in Harvard, you know, everything. You know, he leaned on that, right? And all of a sudden, no, natural born citizen.
Okay,
No,
well,
let me get my birth certificate.
There's right.
See,
there's,
that's what I'm talking about. The truth that triggers.
Okay, well, there's a big debate whether or not he was born in this country or not. There is no debate about whether Mitt Romney is born in Mexico or Ted Cruz was born in Canada. These are facts, known facts. So
I don't know if it's a debate, but the bio that Barack Obama wrote for himself when he was working professionally in Harvard said he was from Canada. So I don't know if that counts as a debate.
there's a debate about whether or not.
What you see now.
I mean, this is what's
what we're
going.
getting
Okay,
now.
Donald Trump came out and said, "I have the evidence that Barack Obama was not born in this country, and I will present it in 2 weeks," and he never fucking presented it. Okay, so there is an ongoing debate. That's the way things are.
Did you see the video, the 7 discrepancies of, it had the word 7 discrepancies of Barack Obama's, birth certificate, some sort of like arrangement like that. But it was the 7 discrepancies where I think it was Sheriff, what's the Arizona Sheriff's name? Everybody hated him. Arapio, I think it was. The Sheriff Arapio in Arizona. He funded these people, and they looked at
Arpaio.
He looked at
yeah.
Arpaio, yeah, I think he funded it. They did analysis on it. They found 7 discrepancies. On it. Well, first off, when they released the birth certificate, these dudes are amateurs. They're not professionals, dude. They literally released the photoshopped version of the file. Like, you could open it in Photoshop and see their manipulations, all right? And second, they actually found who the original birth certificate they used to forge. And it was a person called Ahani, which is a Hawaiian name. Ahani was the original birth certificate, and that's the one they modified. They had a great video about it. Of course, it's totally taboo. You might as well
Yeah, no, I think everybody saw the thing about the Photoshop birth certificate. Okay, I know, I understand the story, and that doesn't mean that there's not a debate going on about it. Again, the point being that there is no debate about Ted Cruz, and there is no debate about Mitt Romney, and nobody else in Congress besides maybe Rand Paul cares, gives a fuck. So, I get, the debate going on about whether or not Obama was born in this country, and I think that we should get to the bottom of that. Just like we should get to the bottom of how we went to war in Iraq based on lies, because we haven't gone there either, and I think that's probably even a little bit more important.
Yeah, I mean, the war things, what was it? What did they just do? What was it? Was it Botswana or whatever they were talking about? Because they captured a reporter or something like that. The Biden administration was criticizing another country for their freedom of press or whatever.
Well,
we got WikiLeaks.
Well, they hijack. Yeah, I get it. I mean, there's no freedom here. We've been talking about it forever, and it's not the country that it's meant to be, and it hasn't been for a long time. Back in 1968, Richard Nixon commissioned gathered a commission, whatever it is you do to form a commission, formed a commission, and they were supposed to study society and see what they could do to make a happier society, right? And they came up with a few recommendations. 2 of them at the top were to end the drug war, loosen restrictions on drugs, on recreational drugs, and loosen restrictions on pornography. And the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, went exactly the opposite direction. And this is the problem, Instead of having a happy society, our government doesn't want that. They want a police state, a comply or die police state. And that's what they've built. They've spent the last 40, 50 years building that.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish that, like marijuana is definitely on the way. It's like, like on the path pretty much everywhere in the United States for legalization. And
Not
thank
if
God for that.
not
But
if Ron
I mean,
not if Ron DeSantis has anything to say about it.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think that's. Quite frankly, there's a lot going on in the state of Florida. But yeah, they're always like the marijuana laws are getting laxer and laxer in Florida. It's a progressive, one step at a time kind of legalization. I'm just surprised it took so long. I mean, like even when I was a kid, like when it was like that hard Nixon, Reagan, even Clinton era, where it's just like fuck, man. It's like it's never going to end. Now it's like, all right, okay, well maybe if you're done in the can. Or maybe if you're just nauseous. All right, okay, well, maybe if you're over 21, you can buy it. It's a slow step. I'm wondering when they're going to start doing mushrooms. Like it feels like those should.
They're legal in Denver. They're legal in Portland. It's coming this way to Washington State right away. They're finding out that they have incredible therapeutic qualities, especially when it comes to mentally ill people, which they knew in the 1950s because they were doing psychiatrists were doing LSD and mushroom treatments in the 1950s, the late 50s and the early 60s. Psychiatrists would come, you'd go to the psychiatrist's office and he would dose you, or she would dose you with LSD, and then you do an intensive 6 or 8 hour session, and you'd come out of there like you'd just been reborn. And unfortunately, they threw away all that knowledge and acted like people who take LSD are fucking criminals, and we got to get them in jail before they hurt someone. Fuck you.
Could you imagine how cool that would be, Max? But hey, work, I'm sorry, I can't come in today. I got a doctor's appointment.
I can't imagine the work part, but I can imagine going and having a really good session. That'd be like my favorite doctor ever.
Yeah, that was me calling into work saying I'm not going to be into work today. I've got a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Sorry, Max. It's late over here on the East Coast, man. I gotta get some sleep. But I hope you have a good day, or actually, I should say good night.
All right, you too. Nice to hear from you.
All right, man, later. Bye.
See ya. Okay, I'm gonna play a video now about. I'm gonna play a video about the origins of. I'm gonna play a video about chemicals being found in breast milk, and I want to play this because it's important. And this is what I keep talking about poisoning every drop of fresh water. They're finding pharmaceuticals and all these other things in drinking water. And I again, this, using up every natural resource, not so much even that, but poisoning every drop of drinking water on the planet seems like probably the stupidest thing ever done by any upright walking being, species, I should say. And probably a lot of four-legged species too. I'm going to go ahead and play the video now about the breast milk, chemicals found in breast milk. And I only have a couple videos left, so if you want to call, now is the time, 805-669-6397. I'll be right back.
A new study is raising concerns about chemicals being found in breast milk. It was conducted in Seattle, and it's sparking a call for more regulation on a class of chemicals found in everything from carpet to non-stick pans. King 5 environmental reporter Michael Crow has more.
We're talking about a class of chemicals called PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and they're all over the place, from stain-resistant treatments on carpets and couches to food packaging. They're sometimes called forever chemicals because they don't break down on their own and can accumulate in the human body with negative health impacts. Now, a new study found them in breast milk, too, following 50 Seattle area women.
We found PFAS in 100% of the breast milk samples.
And that includes the PFAS that are currently being used.
Some have been phased out, but others are still used, which raise concerns for the Seattle nonprofit Toxic Free Future, which conducted this study along with a UW pediatrician.
Babies who are breastfed have fewer infections and fewer chronic health problems like obesity and diabetes. So it's critical that we take the action to make sure that breast milk is clean because, there's no other way to clean it up.
To that end, they're calling for more federal regulation. Washington has already begun that process with a 2019 law called Safer Products for Washington. It gives the Department of Ecology the ability to regulate or even restrict priority chemicals if safer alternatives are feasible and available. These chemicals in carpets, rugs, aftermarket stains, water-resistant treatments, and leather and textile furnishings are included in the first round, with rulemaking set for 2023.
Ecology has a really important decision to make here. They can take action to get these chemicals out of these products and help reverse this trend of the increasing contamination of our breast milk with these PFAS that are being used on products.
Michael Crow, King 5 News.
Iran has nukes? I don't think so. I don't think if Iran had nukes that Israel would be fucking with Syria or Iran. Israel fucks with Iran all the time. And that's why I hope Iran gets nukes. I'm much more comfortable with Iran having nuclear weapons than Israel having nuclear weapons. I can't stand the idea of Israel having nuclear weapons. Somehow the idea of Iran having nuclear weapons, knowing that Iran has never started a war in over 300 years, knowing that Iran had nuclear weapons, I would feel actually safer in the world, because it seems to me that that again it's this deterrent. In the region from this only one country who has nukes. It's this deterrent from them attacking, bullying, and beating up any country that they want, or basically their modus operandi. And I think if Iran had the deterrent of a nuclear weapon, I think it would work. I think it would really chill out the entire region. So. I really do. I think it's like this thing that I keep talking about supporting open carry laws. If you go to rob somebody at an ATM, and they have an open carry pistol on their belt, you might think twice about robbing them, right? So I feel the same way about Iran having a nuclear weapon. Just like North Korea having a nuclear weapon. North Korea is, it's a thorn in your ass, But because they have nuclear weapons, nobody goes and squashes them, like Iraq, like Yemen, like Libya, like Syria. And paid for with your tax dollars. In your name. For how much longer? That's really the question. Hello, caller.
What's up? I'll get right into it. Did you hear about these apologies? Mark Ruffalo and John Cena. Big apologies.
I heard the names and some talk about, anti-Semitism or something, but I didn't hear the apologies.
Yep. So John Cena had apologized.
To China.
Yeah, he had apologized to China because he said Taiwan is a country, and Mark Ruffalo apologized because he stuck up for the Palestinians and said what Israel's doing is genocide. And when it comes to the China thing, I get that. I understand the apologies. I don't agree with it, but when you think about all the money that China creates in terms of their market value, China's got like 1 billion people. They produce, distribute it all throughout China, those big movies, and they eat it up.
Yeah.
make hundreds of millions of dollars. That makes sense. You don't want to offend your market, but what doesn't make sense is apologizing to Israel. I mean, Israel isn't some big buying market. It's a tiny little country.
Well, I think market is irrelevant. I think that if you say something that's true, and then you take it back, it should reflect very, very negatively on you.
I agree. They're both cowards. I think when it comes to it's both. It comes down to money. It's money. They don't want to. They don't want to hurt their bottom dollar. John Cena, when it comes to China, because China's got the big buying market, and I think when it comes to Ruffalo, the people who employ him, they may have an ethnic connection to Israel. I mean, this is no secret. Hollywood is a lot of Jews in Hollywood. And I love how people kind of just dancing around the issue. Well, it doesn't make sense. Why would he apologize? They like beating around the bush. They don't got the balls to say why he would apologize.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons that I think a lot of these people backtrack is because all of a sudden everybody starts calling them anti-Semites, right? You're being anti-Semitic. And I think that, as you said, there's a lot of Jewish people in the media field that when you get that label of being an anti-Semite, once people start talking that way, it doesn't stop. So, again, if you are worried about your income, like you're saying with John Cena, is that his name?
Yeah.
If you're worried about your income, then Mark Garofalo's, apology makes just as much sense as John Cena, right? So.
Yeah, it does, but it's for different reasons. I think when it comes to China, when you have such a large country, 1 billion people, that makes sense. It's obvious. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people. You don't want to upset your base.
Right, but that's. I mean, he's worried about his personal income, just like Mark Garofalo. He's not worried about the income of all the studios he works for, because what he's worried about is that he's not going to be able to live his lifestyle anymore because he's not making $20 million per movie that he makes, because he's not making any movies anymore. That's what he's concerned with. Just like Mark Garofalo, he's concerned with his paycheck. Okay, so that's, again, this. If it's okay for one, it's easy to understand. If you understand why one did it, it's easy to understand why the other one does it. And in my opinion, if you speak the truth and then you apologize for doing that, you're not worthy of anyone's respect. You lose all credibility.
Yeah, the thing though is, we're talking about billion people versus a handful of people.
We're talking about a paycheck and a paycheck. That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about why though. Why are they bowing down and apologizing for the paycheck?
Because that's all that matters to them is money. Duh.
Well, obviously, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about the bigger picture.
No, we're not. We're talking about why they apologized. And I explained it. Because they're worried about their paycheck. That's the facts, Jack.
Yes, but do you not get my point in regards to China having 1 billion people?
Right. Do you not get my point that the only thing either one of them are concerned about is them getting paid? Because that's what it boils down to. You want to act like somehow this audience is more important than that audience. No, this audience helps you get paid. This assures that you get paid. This audience assures that you get paid. Okay, that's how it works. And it's not even that.
Israel doesn't have an audience. They don't have a big buying market. China does.
You just got done. Look, it's all about the Benjamins, dude. It's really easy to figure out. Okay, for either one of those guys. And most, it's just like fucking Joe Rogan. who said the truth and then had to apologize for saying it. And during his apology, he says, I have zero credibility on anything. I don't even believe what I say. Okay? I mean, he just lost all credibility. Why? Because he cared about his paycheck. Not because he didn't speak the truth. Because all that matters to these fucking pieces of shit is that they get paid. It's easy to figure out.
You know what's even worse is Mark Ruffalo, he's vocal on pretty much every topic you can think of. Every single issue, he's always virtue signaling. He's always got to chime in. You know, he's whether the fracking, the oil, the Native American issue, the protest, police injustice, every single issue he's chiming in on Twitter. But when it comes to Israel, all of a sudden he's got to apologize and bend the knee. So that pretty much tells you who controls him.
It tells you who signs his. It tells you who signs his paycheck. Okay, nobody controls him. Okay, he can make the judgment to go, you know what? Paycheck is not worth it to me. I'm going to speak my mind. Okay, he can say that. He chooses not to because he's a sellout piece of shit, just like Joe Rogan.
Exactly, you're right.
Yeah.
And it comes down to damn Jews. These damn Jews.
No, it doesn't. Thanks for calling. It comes down to damn people who care about getting a damn paycheck. Okay? That's why Joe Rogan is a sellout. It's all these different subjects. Okay? China, Israel, vaccine. These are the subjects that they all sold their soul about. They speak the truth and then they have to come out and apologize. Joe Rogan, I mean, that Sienna guy, whatever the fuck his name is, he said, I'm sorry. Looked like he was going to cry at least 40 times. He said, I'm sorry. Bullshit. He fucking is upset that he might lose his paycheck. Anybody else? Joe Rogan? Do you think he cared about whether he spoke the truth or not? Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. No, he cares about getting a paycheck. Joe Rogan is a sellout piece of shit, just like John Cena, just like Mark Ruffalo or Ruffalo, whatever his fucking name is. All that matters to these people is getting their paycheck. Their overinflated, ego-blowing fucking paycheck. Okay? Which none of them deserve. So, especially when they have zero credibility. Okay? You say something and then you apologize and take it back. When you speak the truth and then you apologize and take it back, you have zero credibility. Just like every single member of the mainstream media. They lie and but they're even worse because they actually tell lies and they never take it back. You know, they helped lead us into a war in Iraq, which anybody with the internet could have told you aluminum tubes and yellow cake is garbage lies created directly from the Pentagon and the White House. Okay? So, but they didn't have any interest in that. You know why? Because war makes for good ratings. Oh, if we have war, people have to tune in every day to see what's going on with the war. It's always been good ratings. So yeah, and the fucking pieces of shit in the mainstream media, besides profiteering off of war by them getting more business, you know, after helping march our troops, our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters into a war of choice that they know is a lie. So, but they knew it would make them money. War profiteers. Not only that, I would bet every penny I have that they also invest in the military-industrial complex, help make the war happen, help it keep happening, and then make money off it. That's as evil as it gets, Liz Cheney. Whoever else, Cuomo, Wolf Blitzer, Rachel Maddow. Okay, Rachel Maddow went to fucking Iraq and had like a camp out photo op with all the troops there and talked about, oh yeah, the war effort and hoorah and fucking bullshit. Okay, it's all based on lies. The media is just as responsible and needs to go to prison forever in order to make the world a safer place for little children. I don't know how many times I can say this, but I'm going to say it and say it and say it until maybe someone hears what I'm saying. They have to go to prison forever in order to make examples out of them. Otherwise, we just get the same shit. Okay? If we don't make examples out of these people in Congress, all of them, just send them to prison forever, throw away the key, seize all their assets because they made them off of war profiteering, seize all their assets, let their families live destitute in disgrace. This will get us better people. It's the same thing with the police. The police, we played a story yesterday. The police is all, oh, we're so, we're so beat up and defenseless. They're the victim now, the police, right? And we just don't know what to do, so we're not going to do anything. Okay? If that's what the cops' attitude are, if they think, oh, I feared for my life, that they're afraid, if police officers are afraid, we just fire all of them. Start from the beginning, okay? We just fire every cop. Start from the beginning, and maybe then we could get some actual good apples, right? We hear about the bad apples. They're all bad apples right now, and it's really unfortunate. I don't want to look at it like that. I want to look at the police like they're the heroes. They're the brave ones. They're the ones who rush toward bullets when everybody's running the other way. Not this, oh, I feared for my life bullshit. Okay? Because I feared for my life means you do not belong in that job. We talked to Brandon like 3 days ago. He's actually gone on raids in Iraq, in Afghanistan, where you could get blown up, you could get a grenade launcher launched at you, thrown at you a grenade, you could get bullets flying from every direction, doing a raid in Iraq. I asked him, when you're in that moment, when you're headed into that raid, when you're going, I said, are you afraid? When you know it could be your last breath, are you afraid? He said, and he didn't want to answer the question, I know. Because he's like, oh, well, you got a guy on your left and a guy on your right that you can count on. I said, no, that's not the question. I said, are you afraid when you're doing that? He said, no. Because you can't do that job and be afraid. I said, do you think about whether the guy standing next to you on the right or the guy standing next to you on the left, do you think about whether they're afraid? I said, no. Again, because you can't do that job and be afraid. Just like cops who have that job and know that they have that job and then say, oh, I feared for my life. We're so victimized in the thin blue line. Fuck you. Fuck the police. Okay? That's a load of crap that they've been getting away with murdering people for how many generations now? I feared for my life. Somebody should slap that fucking piece of shit. Feared for my life. Yeah, you're going to jail right now because that excuse don't work no more. Do you hear what it is that I am saying? I love writing that in the comments. Because it's from South Park, the one where Butters becomes a pimp and he starts selling kisses from all the girls in the school. and he goes to the pimp convention. I think it's in Detroit. And all the pimps are like there, and they keep saying, "No, I'm saying," and Butters would respond, "Yes, I know what it is that you are saying." So, in the comments, I write that all the time. Do you know what it is that I am saying? Not know I'm saying, because I think it's funny. But I crack me up, so maybe it's just me. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what it is that I am saying? Let's see. I have one video left. So, if you want to call, now would be the time to do it. Whoops. What happened? I pushed the talk button. All I can do is what I'm supposed to do. What I know to do. Aha. Hello, caller.
It's still in the air. It's already like 10:30.
Time moves quickly.
I know. Craig was saying that you're on fire.
I'm not on fire so much tonight, but sometimes I'm on fire.
Well, I know. Like, for example, during the riots, you were like until like 12 or 1 in the morning, and like, what is this guy still doing over the air, watching videos of people rioting? But I mean, right now, Slow News Day. Oh, speaking of news, did you saw yesterday about the shooting at the George Floyd Memorial?
I heard about it.
No, it was actually live. Like, some guy was recording his news.
Yeah, I know what happened, Manny. I heard about it, okay?
And then there was a Black Lives Matter leader in the UK, and she got shot in the head. And she's in critical condition now. And apparently they were blaming it on the white supremacists or agitators of the alt-right. Turns out there was like 4 black people from the different rival guys.
Okay, Manny, I don't want to talk about black people. Thanks for calling. And it's not that I have a problem speaking about African American people or, whatever other nationality they are. We know that Manny has a problem with people of a certain complexion. He's already told us that, if they're walking through your neighborhood in Mexico and they don't have the right complexion, you call the police on them. So I don't want to have that discussion at the end of my show, because I think it's a pretty good show. I was cracking up earlier. And I don't want my buzz killed by a discussion about that right now. I have one video left. Where's it at? There it is. Origins of COVID. I think it's a very good video. I think that it kind of lays out where we're at right now. So if you want to call, now's the time to do it. I'll be back. And I think this is about a 2-minute video. So I'll be right back, and we'll see where we go from there.
Well, President Biden is asking U.S. intelligence agencies to redouble their efforts to investigate the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. The president says there's not enough evidence to conclude whether it came from human contact with an infected animal or from a lab accident. This comes as the White House is ramping up pressure on China to be transparent about the outbreak. NewsNation correspondent Joe Khalil live in Washington, D.C. And Joe, the U.S. intelligence agencies told to report back in 90 days with those findings.
Yeah, Nicole, and it's really significant because we're actually hearing for the first time one U.S. intelligence agency say that they believe it's more likely the virus actually did start in a Wuhan lab. First time we're hearing that, but that's just one agency. Others say the opposite. And so that's really the crazy thing about this and why this is important. We still don't know. So for that reason, you're right. The White House, they're putting more pressure on China now. They're also increasing the urgency on our own intelligence agencies to really get to the bottom of this. A day after the White House said the probe into the origin of COVID-19 should be led by an international team of experts, today President Biden says he wants U.S. intelligence to find answers.
We're going to go with the 90-day investigation and see where it takes us from there.
In a statement, the president said U.S. intelligence has, quote, coalesced around 2 likely scenarios, but has not reached a definitive conclusion on this question. The president says of 3 U.S. intelligence agencies, 2 believe the virus emerged from human contact with an infected animal. but one leans toward the possibility of a laboratory accident in Wuhan, China, the site of a now controversial lab. The president added most in the intel community do not think they have enough information to say which scenario is more likely.
No one knows, not even I, 100% at this point, which is the reason why we are in favor of further investigation.
Today, Dr. Anthony Fauci faced a grilling from Republicans who accuse him of initially downplaying the lab leak theory.
In a lab that we know is involved in changing viruses synthetically so that they become infectious for humans, in a lab that diplomats have told us is unsafe.
Dr. Fauci says he still believes it's more likely the virus first spread from animals. Other Republicans say it's about time the White House put more pressure on China.
I think it's despicable, the cover-up by the Communist Party of China. So I'm glad the president finally has decided to start holding them accountable.
And Nicole, it's not just Republicans, Democrats, the White House. Importantly, it's also the medical community. All of the experts, the doctors, the CDC, NIH, they all say that it's time for China to play ball and not to be interfering, but rather to be helping the international community find the origins of the coronavirus. Nicole?
Oh, yes. So many of us curious about those results. Joe Khalil live tonight in D.C. Thank you.
All right, so we have no phone callers. I've had about enough dabs until I get a little bit to eat. I have one video left, but it's Israeli news. I wonder if that's... No, we played that video. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you very much for tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back tomorrow, same Mox time, same Mox channel. I really hope we see you there, because I want you to remember it's always better when you're here. In fact, it would be completely meaningless without you. So, because I'd just be sitting here talking to myself. So thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and every day. And until then, stay cool, because one of these days this war is going to end. Stay cool till then. Not that one.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other.